Naruto. Start signing in with the Tremor-Tremor Fruit. Chapter 101. The three people in the hospital were discharged from the hospital half a month after Sasuke's defection. At this time, it seemed that Xiao Qiang's good days were over. In a tavern somewhere on the streets of Konoha, Jiraiya and Hitaki Kakashi, two book friends who were in love with each other, were drinking. Jiraiya, if you do this, Team 7 will be in name only. Hitaki Kakashi said with a bitter face. As the saying goes, you should be grateful to the people who eat you. I should not have attended Jiraiya's drinking party earlier. Kakashi, I watched you grow up. I am your master, so I don't understand you. Jiraiya said calmly, you should be so happy in your heart. You don't have the pressure of teaching. You can slack off every day. Hitaki Kakashi was ashamed. Master Jiraiya, am I so unreliable? No. Jiraiya shook his head and said, on the contrary, you are the backbone of Konoha. When Konoha is in danger, you are the one who takes the lead. Hitaki Kakashi smiled, but he had no reason to refuse. Naruto is the teacher's child. It is a shortcut to improve his strength in a short time to let Jiraiya teach him, but I don't understand why you want to bring Qingqiu and Tianming. Jiraiya, Hitaki Kakashi, and Uzumaki Naruto can all be connected through the fourth generation Namikaze Minato. As the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, better consolidate the seal. And teach Naruto to become stronger. It is natural to follow Jiraiya, but Qingqiu and Tianming is special. Jiraiya put down his wine glass and said, this child is far more special than everyone else. Whether it is Naruto or Uchiha, you and I know everything, but only the orphan of the Qingqiu family can't see through. Can't see through, this is the evaluation of the three ninjas Jiraiya. Hitaki Kakashi was also silent. He also understood what Jiraiya said. The third generation arranged Qingqiu and Tianming to the beginning of the seventh team. This child's performance is unheard of. In history, there is only one person similar to him, the fourth generation Namikaze Minato. The genius of the ninja world is outstanding. But it can amaze an era and be recognized by the 5 major countries as the yellow flash of Konoha. I understand. Hitaki Kakashi said slowly. Then I'll leave the two of them to Jiraiya-sama. I'll still teach them. Don't worry about this. The girl has a talent for medical ninjutsu. Tsunade has agreed to accept her as a disciple. Jiraiya laughed. But Hitaki Kakashi's face fell. That's good. Team 7 really doesn't exist anymore. One morning, at the entrance of Konoha village. It seemed that Jiraiya was not late when he went to Tansho Street for the first time. After Jiraiya waited for a while, Qingqiu and Tianming and Uzumaki Karen appeared. Jiraiya thought he was seeing things. Tenming boy, who is this girl? Teacher Jiraiya, can I talk to you for a moment? Qingqiu and Tianming came to Jiraiya and said, this is the girl I saved in the death forest of the Chunin exam. She is one of the few descendants of the Uzumaki clan. Jiraiya's pupils shrank slightly. Uzumaki clan. It seemed to confirm the conjecture. Qingqiu and Tianming said, the bloodline is purer than Naruto's. Shish. Jiraiya took a breath of cold air. The Uzumaki clan had a deep connection with Konoha, but after the defeat of the Whirlpool country, the remaining Uzumaki clan members went into seclusion. To this day, many people think that the Uzumaki clan is dead in name only. They dare not even think that the descendants of the Uzumaki clan are pure blood. Jiraiya looked at Karen's red hair and unique breath and pondered for a while. If that's the case, then take her with you. After a while, Uzumaki Naruto finally appeared at the corner of the street, but when he saw Karen, his heart ached. Where are the 3 people who agreed to practice? Why are there 4 now? And they look so harmonious. Don't be in a daze, I'm waiting for you. Jiraiya rewarded a headbang and walked out first. So far, the 3-year practice has begun. At the same time, in the chaotic area at the junction of the 5 major countries, Orochimaru's Snake Cave. In a natural cave somewhere, there are wisps of heat rising. There is a pool of water in the cave, but the water is blood red and has a faint smell of blood. In the middle of the pool, Uchiha Sasuke is resting with his eyes closed. There were 2 figures standing by the pond. They were, Kagaya Kimimaro, and Kabuto Yakushi. I'm really looking forward to him waking up. Kagaya Kimimaro spoke in a hoarse voice. Quote, Lord Orochimaru, you should prepare early. Kabuto Yakushi reminded. Of course. Orochimaru looked at his current body and smiled. Kimimaro is good in every way, but not perfect. The Battle of the End Valley. The seriously injured Uchiha Sasuke was taken back to the Snake Cave. Sasuke, who was covered with wounds, was not suitable for changing bodies at all, but Orochimaru's original body could not hold on. At this time, Kagaya Kimimaro stood up and said that he could offer his body to Orochimaru. In the end, Orochimaru, who had no one to use, fulfilled Kimimaro's wish. This body should last for a few more days, and then I will taste Sasuke. Orochimaru licked his lips and turned to leave, and Kabuto Yakushi followed closely behind. After they left, Uchiha Sasuke in the blood pool opened his eyes. The old man was very happy. Outside Konoha village, Uzumaki Naruto looked back every 3 steps at the village that was gradually going away, feeling a little sad. From Jiraiya, he learned that the training this time was expected to take about 3 years. And he would not come back halfway. Although Uzumaki Naruto was naughty, he also had feelings and was reluctant to leave Konoha. Naruto, kid, are you reluctant to leave? Jiraiya teased on the side. Who is reluctant? Uzumaki Naruto said stubbornly. But lecherous sage, where are we going this time? Or will you drink wine like last time? Am I going to practice alone? Ahem. Jiraiya coughed awkwardly, and then slapped Uzumaki Naruto on the head. What nonsense are you talking about? 3 years of training is thousands of times more difficult than practicing Rasengan. Be prepared. Aoki Tenming on the side also pricked up his ears to listen. In the original Naruto, Naruto's 3 years of training were not described in detail, so this part was blank. Aoki Tenming was also very curious about the training place and training method chosen by Jiraiya. Tianming kid, if I guess correctly, you are proficient in all escape techniques, right? Jiraiya said. Probably. Aoki Tenming said ambiguously. He has extreme chakra, and theoretically all escape techniques are no problem, but he has never used them. Jiraiya frowned and said, although I am the teacher's disciple, I have embarrassed the old man. I am not very proficient in ninjutsu. How about taking you to meet an old friend? Let's go there. In fact, Qingchuan Tianming wanted to say that he didn't have to worry about himself at all, but Jiraiya looked serious and still couldn't open his mouth. In this way, the 4 of them walked towards the border. After 3 days of rushing, they finally arrived at a familiar place. That was the port where they fought with Momochi Zabuza. After that mission, the shadows of Momochi Zabuza and Kato, who had shrouded the Wave Country for many years, dissipated, and the forces within the Wave Country were also wiped out. The Wave Country is now reborn. Are we going to the Wave Country? Uzumaki Naruto exclaimed as he looked at the brand new port and ship. Yes, I have a residence in Wave Country and a few friends I met during my travels. This time I will take you there for a visit and training, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Jiraiya explained and started to buy tickets with the 3 of them. Wave Country, which had restored order, had established diplomatic relations with other countries, and the ships going back and forth were already full of people from Wave Country. They were generally businessmen who traveled around the 5 major countries with the aquatic products of Wave Country. After getting on the ship, the people from Wave Country on the bed looked at the group from time to time. Jiraiya didn't care about the strange looks, and went into the cabin after saying hello. Qingchuan Tianming and Karen stood on the deck, looking forward. The place where the water and the sky met was beautiful. Uzumaki Naruto also looked around like a curious baby, but a fatal flaw broke out after the boat started. The prince was seasick. I'll go down first. In order not to perform a human fountain on the deck, Uzumaki Naruto had to go down to the cabin. Qingchuan Tianming stood in front of the railing, watching the ups and downs of the sea, and his mood relaxed. Karen was beside him, not saying anything. The boy and girl standing together became a beautiful landscape. It will take at least 3 days to go to the land of waves, let's go in first. After blowing the wind on the deck for a while, Qingchuan Tianming brought Karen to the cabin. Jiraiya, who has always been stingy, spent a lot of money this time to buy 4 box tickets. He and Naruto were in one room, and he and Karen were in the next room. Tianming, does this look like a date? Karen said with a red face. What? Qingchuan Tianming pretended to be surprised. Nothing, you heard it wrong. Karen quickly turned her head and said nothing. In fact, Qingchuan Tianming heard it, but he didn't know how to respond. He is only 12 years old now, it's not appropriate to drive at any time. And this is the world of Naruto full of dangers, how can you do nothing but flirt with girls? It was probably because Qingchuan Tianming's mouth was blessed. As soon as he had this idea, Brother Long emerged from his robe with a dragon head and whispered, "Boy, there is murderous intent approaching." Murderous intent approaching. Qingchuan Tianming looked around the cabin and found nothing unusual. On the sea, Brother Long could deceive you. Qingchuan Tianming looked back and saw through the porthole. The waves in the distance. There were a few small black spots on the seawater. Fortunately, it was a minor problem. Qingchuan Tianming closed his eyes and opened them again, and his pupils turned into blood dragon eyes. His vision became clearer. Those small black spots were ships, with black gun barrels, and the sails were the black skull flags that were common in all dimensions. Qingchuan Tianming was stunned. What the hell is this, a pirate? Are you with me in one piece? Before he could finish his complaints, the gun barrels on the pirate ship flashed with fire, and several shells came over. Without any warning, the deck exploded. The hull shook violently. The people of Wave Country on the ship screamed. What's going on? Jiraiya yawned. Teacher Jiraiya, we've encountered pirates. The sound of a gun is not good. Pirates. Jiraiya thought he had heard wrong. Yes, the country with the richest water resources in the Naruto world is the land of waves. There is no sea in other places to breed pirates, but pirates are too rare, right? However, before everyone could understand, the cannonballs flying all over the sky blew the big ship to the point of collapse. Let's go up to the deck first. Jiraiya rushed out first. The ship was full of civilians and could not withstand the artillery attack. Qingchuan Tianming went up to the deck and clearly found that the whole ship could tilt. It should be that the lower cabin was leaking and the seawater was pouring back. And on the sea not far to the left, 4 or 5 pirate ships were approaching. Qingchuan Tianming used the blood dragon eye to observe carefully. There was a figure standing on the bow of the pirate ship in front. The man closed his eyes and rested, holding a sword in his arms. Master Ka, that ship is already in our pocket. A one-eyed fat man came to the man and said respectfully. The man called Ka slowly opened his eyes, and a gleam of brilliance flashed in his pupils. Their despair is not enough. My brother was much more desperate when he died. Understood. The one-eyed fat man immediately turned back and shouted at the people below. Continue the artillery attack. The barrels of the 4 pirate ships were aimed in one direction again, and then a flash of fire appeared. Come again. Jiraiya cursed secretly as he looked at the black shells. If they continued to bombard, the ship would sink. Ordinary people have no chance of survival when the ship sank in the middle of the sea. Tianming, Naruto, you are responsible for protecting the people on the ship. Jiraiya threw a word and jumped onto the sea, stepping out of the water. Water style. Water flow wall. Jiraiya formed a seal, but it was a different way of casting the spell. Chakra gathered in his throat and then spit out. A strong wind blew across the sea, causing a small tsunami that rolled 5 black shells straight to the bottom of the sea. This operation made Ka Xiao on the pirate ship stunned. He took all the shells with one move. What is his strength? Ka Xiao was not surprised by the appearance of the ninja, but he had never seen someone who could roll 5 shells with just one hand. Master Ka, this guy is a bit weird. The one-eyed fat man also took a breath of cold air. Could it be that the old guy is playing tricks on us? He didn't say there were ninjas on the ship. Ka's eyes narrowed slightly. It doesn't matter anymore. While speaking, Jiraiya came to the 4 pirate ships and said, you pirates are not only trying to make money, but also want to kill people. Isn't it too much? Hey. Ka on the bow said condescendingly, are you a ninja? Yes, I am Jiraiya, a ninja from Konoha. Jiraiya said proudly. But when he heard about Konoha ninjas, Ka's murderous aura burst out. You are a Konoha ninja, that's easy. Ka Xiao jumped down from the bed and came to Jiraiya and said lightly, I am Ka Xiao, the 4th captain of the Shachima pirates. I have been looking for your Konoha ninjas so hard. Jiraiya scratched his head and said, we are Konoha ninjas, but why did you come to the sea to blow up the ship instead of going to the village to entrust us with the mission? Ka Xiao glared at Jiraiya and said loudly, entrust a mission. Entrust a shitty mission. I will kill all of you Konoha ninjas, kill them all. Ah, why do you want to kill us? Ka Xiao's sword in his hand was almost unstable, and his anger seemed to have reached the top of his head. You haven't heard of me. You should have heard of Kato. Yes, I am Kato's younger brother Ka Xiao. I come to revenge you Konoha. Jiraiya still shook his head. In fact, Jiraiya really didn't know that he was not in Konoha during the mission of Wave Country. And it was the third team that wiped out Kato's gang. Go to hell. Kato shouted, unable to bear it any longer. 4 or 5 black shadows also jumped down from the ship and stood on the water. Water style. Water mist formation. The people who surrounded Jiraiya began to make hand seals at the same time. The sea water under their feet began to boil, and the rising hot air connected to a unique area. Kato looked at Jiraiya opposite and murmured, you Konoha ninjas killed my brother, so you must kill him today. No. All of you must die. Fatty, keep firing. The one-eyed fat man on the ship gave an order, and the gun barrels of the 4 pirate ships exploded one after another, and the dense shells were fired crazily. On the deck, Qingqiu and Tianming frowned. Naruto, you and Karen are. Take the wounded on the deck to a safe place. Quote. As the voice fell, Qingqiu and Tianming's body began to feel the power that had not been used for a long time. Fruit ability. Shock. Qingqiu and Tianming pointed out with one finger, and the mysterious shock force protected the hull like a barrier. The flying shells stopped directly when they were helped by the shock force. As the first shell vibrated, the other shells also vibrated one after another. Then, something wonderful happened. The shell exploded, and huge power and solar energy burst out. But all the power of the shell seemed to be isolated. No sound, no power. In the blink of an eye, it turned into nothingness. The tremor fruit is Qingqiu and Tianming's biggest killer, and he usually doesn't use it. But not using it doesn't mean not practicing. At present, the ability rating of the tremor fruit is still green, and only by practicing slowly can the power be raised. Privately, when Qingqiu and Tianming practiced, he did not focus on air shock and shock knife, but on a smaller range of shock. So there was a scene of squeezing all the shells with one finger. This operation directly made the one-eyed fat man on the other side of the pirate ship dumbfounded. What kind of ninjutsu is this? I haven't seen it. Some pirates also came to the deck. The pirates in the Naruto world are not professional enough. At best, they have ships that are rampant in the waters of the Wave Country. The vast sea has become a hotbed of crime. Mr. Ninja. At this time, the captain ran out of the cabin and knelt on the ground. Please, Mr. Ninja, save my family. Your family? Qingqiu and Tianming asked with some doubts. It was all done by the Shikima pirates. They established themselves as kings on an unnamed island and have been robbing merchant ships passing by the Wave Country. Since the Wave Country does not have ninja power, the country can't do anything about the Shikima pirates. And my family was also kidnapped by the Shikima pirates. If I don't cooperate, I won't be able to see my family. Qingqiu and Tianming was relieved. He was a little skeptical. The timing and location of the pirate ship's appearance coincided with this ship, and the pirate ship's long-range attack could strike accurately. It can't be done without a route map and positioning. Please, Mr. Ninja, save us. The civilians on the ship also knelt down directly. Tianming, you have a good brain, tell me what to do. Uzumaki Naruto hated to see others being bullied. Qingqiu and Tianming looked up at Jiraiya who was besieged by Ka Xiao. He was not worried about Jiraiya, but prayed for those people. What good would come of provoking the 3 ninjas? On the other side, the pirate ship has already prepared a second wave of offensive. There is no such thing as passively taking a beating. Naruto, let's go head on. Qingqiu and Tianming said. Okay. Uzumaki Naruto understood immediately and jumped off the ship. Rushed towards the position of the pirate ship. This kid is a ninja. Hit him with shuriken quickly. The one-eyed fat man did not intend to bombard with shells. It is better to blow up the ship than to hit people with shells. Listening to the desperate voices of countless people, it was really too exciting. On the deck of the pirate ship, some ninja-looking Taoists immediately walked out, but these people were not even considered rebel ninjas, they were really mixed up. Whoosh! Countless shurikens and kunai swept towards the Uzumaki Naruto who was running all the way, but Naruto on the sea surface dodged confidently. He had been practicing walking on water for a long time, and it was not in vain. Fire! The one-eyed fat man gave an order, and the 4 pirate ships immediately raised a thicker barrel. Boom. A guy with more powerful shells than the previous one appeared, dragging a long tail flame. Karen, you look after the people on the boat. After Qingchuan Tianming finished speaking, he stomped his feet and soared into the sky. Facing the 4 huge shells, Qingchuan Tianming's sun blade was also unsheathed. Wind style. Wind killing array slash. Chakra poured back into the sun blade, and Qingchuan Tianming slashed with a sword, and the wind style sword light burst out. At the same time, the 2 chakra clones also made the same sword swinging action. A total of 3 sword lights directly cut the huge shell in half, and the 4th one also came to Qingchuan Tianming. Boom boom boom. Continuous explosions sounded, and black smoke billowed on the sea. Just when the one-eyed fat man thought Qingchuan Tianming was killed, he suddenly found a person standing behind him. He turned his head mechanically and saw the blood-red pupils. Qingchuan Tianming kicked him into the sea without saying a word, and at the same time, the sunwheel sword swung out the blade again and chopped the turret on the deck. Taking down a pirate ship in the blink of an eye is his current strength. And Uzumaki Naruto on the sea was not willing to admit defeat. Multiple shadow clone technique. Suddenly, 300 Naruto appeared on the sea, and they attacked the remaining 3 pirate ships at the same time. On the 3 pirate ships, shuriken and kunai attacked like a storm. But Naruto's body did not flinch, and the Rasengan that was ready to go was blasted out directly. Boom boom boom. 3 pirate ships were destroyed in the same way. Suddenly, the only ship that was still intact was the one under Qingchuan Tianming's feet. At this time, the battle on the sea was over. Those guys who besieged Jiraiya were eaten alive by Gamabunta. As the mist array dissipated, Ka Xiao peed his pants. Well done. Jiraiya turned around and saw Qingchuan Tianming standing in front of him with a knife, and Uzumaki Naruto's clones filled the other 3 ships. Little Jiraiya, don't call me out to deal with small characters. Gamabunta said easily. Isn't this to shock them? Jiraiya said embarrassedly. In the end, Ka Xiao was tied up and knelt on the deck. Jiraiya sat in the captain's seat. Qingchuan Tianming and Uzumaki Naruto were the left and right protectors. Now you can talk about your Shikima pirates. The 2 of them were so busy that they had to face each other. Ka Xiao's eyes were dull, and he had lost all his arrogance. In the mist array, they launched a fierce attack on Jiraiya. Ninjutsu and assassination techniques were used one after another, but Jiraiya used a water clone to deceive everyone's attack. Just when he was about to launch the forbidden technique, this man actually summoned a toad monster. The toad monster sucked water with a toad, and several powerful ninjas were buried in the toad's mouth. It was really terrifying. Do you want Bunta to tell you? Jiraiya teased. No. No. Ka Xiao shook his head like a rattle. He didn't want to experience the tongue of the toad monster. I am the 4th captain of the Shikima pirates, and these people under my command are my people. Ka Xiao lowered his head and said, I was originally in the land of lightning, but after learning that my brother was wiped out by the Konoha ninja, I returned to the land of waves. I met Shikima with my heart set on revenge, and then I became one of them. Shikima. Jiraiya turned his head and looked at Qingchuan Tianming and asked, didn't you carry out the mission of the land of waves? Qingchuan Tianming said helplessly, Teacher Jiraiya, Cardo died at the dock at that time, and we didn't take the boat. The air was filled with an awkward atmosphere. I know Shachima. At this time, the captain raised his hand and said, there has always been a saying in the land of waves, called Kato on the ground, Shachima on the sea. Although both of them are bad guys, Shachima is different. Shachima came to the land of waves and quickly organized a group of Ronin warriors to form the Shachima pirates, and since then dominated the waters of the land of waves. So that's how it is. Jiraiya touched his chin and said, in that case, let's go meet this Shachima. Master Ninja, you must not the island where the Shikima pirates hide is easy to defend and difficult to attack. It is the most natural fortress. You guys can't take it down. The captain persuaded. Before, the wave country raised money to invite many ninjas from the ninja village to destroy them, but none of them returned. Captain, don't worry, the lustful fairy is super strong. Uzumaki Naruto laughed and said, besides, there is me, Uzumaki Naruto, no matter what bad guys, they will be in trouble. Ninja sir. The captain wanted to persuade, but was interrupted by Qingchu and Tianming. Uncle, do you have 1 yuan? Yes. The captain didn't know why Qingchu and Tianming asked this, but still handed over 1 yuan. Very good. Qingchu and Tianming put the money in his pocket and said slowly, we accept your commission. Now my task is to meet the Shikima pirates. Please respect my ninja way, Captain. This sentence directly blocked everyone's persuasion. Jiraiya gave Qingchu and Tianming a thumbs up and said, Tianming boy, you are so smart, why don't you ask for some useful information? Jiraiya is very strong, but he is not good at interrogation, and Qingchu and Tianming's mind works very quickly, so he wants him to try. No problem. Qingchu and Tianming came to Ka Xiao and said, we Konoha ninjas don't like to kill everyone. You and your brothers will leave here on a boat to turn over a new leaf, or go to the sea to feed the fish. The decision is in your hands. Without waiting for Ka Xiao to speak, Qingchu and Tianming continued, where is the specific direction of the island? How are the troops on the island? How strong are the other 3 captains and the leader of the Shikima pirates? Ka Xiao's throat rolled, but the picture in his mind made him shut his mouth. I don't know. Hey! Qingchu and Tianming directly grabbed Ka Xiao's collar and pressed his head into the sea. The salty sea water poured into the esophagus through the mouth and nose is very sour. I won't ask you a second time. If you still don't know, I can only cut you with a knife and throw you into the sea. Wow wow wow. Ka Xiao coughed violently. When he heard the second half of Qingchu and Tianming's words, his body felt like it was falling into an ice cave. I'll tell you everything. In this way, Ka Xiao confessed everything. After learning the truth, even Jiraiya's expression became extremely serious. I didn't expect that a small pirate group would actually have such a dark side. During the journey, it is my creed to eliminate the darkness in the world. I have to go this time. Jiraiya said seriously. Tianming boy, Naruto boy, the first time for our training is here. I couldn't ask for it. Qingchu and Tianming also smiled with his lips curled. This unknown stimulation is too good. After questioning, the group got the specific location of the island, and Ka Xiao also spared his life and asked him to bring people into the island. In view of the importance of this mission, Qingchu and Tianming did not let Karen go with him, and the latter also expressed understanding. After the pirates repaired the passenger ship, Karen went to the Wave Country first with the civilians of the Wave Country. Jiraiya and the other 2 boarded the pirate ship. Ka Xiao's team of the Sachima pirates navigated as usually. Finally, at the time of sunset, a dark island appeared on the sea level in the distance. The 3 masters and apprentices stood on the deck and looked at each other's pirate clothes and laughed. Ka Xiao could only play the role of a younger brother next to him. Jiraiya put a small toad in his stomach, and as long as he was disobedient, the toad would make a nest in his body. Ka Xiao was very well behaved at this time. The island was so beautiful that the boat was about to sail. Does this island have a name? Qingchu and Tianming asked, looking at the island getting closer and closer. It didn't have a name before. It's called Shikima Island now, Ka Xiao responded. Not long after, the pirate ship docked, and someone from the shore came to confirm the situation. Tell me your name. The man in charge of guarding the dock was a scarred man holding a bottle of soju. You're blind. Ka Xiao jumped off the deck and slapped the man in the face. Captain Ka Xiao. The scarred man didn't dare to hold his breath when he saw Ka Xiao clearly. Clean my boat tonight, or you'll be fed to sharks, Ka Xiao said viciously. Understood, understood. At this point, the pirates of Ka Xiao's team began to disembark and swaggered to the island. Qingchu and Tianming, Jiraiya and Uzumaki Naruto were among them. Qingchu and Tianming observed the island while walking, and he finally understood why this island was easy to defend but difficult to attack. The terrain of the island is generally slanted. Outside the dock, the terrain on the other 3 sides is tall. There are mountains gathered on the outside and cliffs. In other words, except for the dock, other places cannot land on the island. Secondly, the island is full of strange rocks, and some hills have been dug out of some defensive offensives. Overall, it is as solid as a rock. Uncle Ninja, I have brought you to the island, right? Ka Xiao laughed beside him. Qingchu and Tianming glanced at him. Let you go. No way. Otherwise, what if you turn around and sell us out? I, Master Ka, swear that I will never sell out the three of you. Forget it, your words are like farts, no one believes them. Qingchuan Tianming said coldly. Master Ka felt very hurt. The power of the Shikima pirates, the leader Shikima, is controlled by 4 squad leaders. And the 4 squad leaders are also ranked according to their own strength and their subordinates. Like Master Ka, 4 pirate groups and 400 people can only be at the bottom. After returning to Master Ka's territory, the 3 naturally disappeared in the crowd. Master Ka, should we contact Master Sokong? The one-eyed fat man said viciously in Master Ka's camp. He was kicked into the sea by Qingchuan Tianming and almost drowned, so he hated Qingchuan Tianming and the other 2. You want to kill me? Ka Xiao glanced at the one-eyed fat man and said, I don't care what you want to do, but if you use my name, I will kill you first. Understood. The one-eyed fat man who was scolded flashed a gleam in his eyes. On the other side, at the highest point of Ka Xiao's camp, the 3 of them could see most of the scenery on the island. Romantic immortal, this should be a town, right? Uzumaki Naruto looked at the bright and colorful scenery of the island below, and felt unreal. Isn't this a pirate territory? Naruto, don't be fooled by this scene. Jiraiya laughed and said, they dominate the island, and the wave country is unable to deal with them. They must have become powerful over the years, so you have to be patient and find out the flaws. Tianming, do you have any ideas? Qingchuan Tianming frowned, pondered for a while and said, the prosperity of this pirate town seems to have ulterior motives. It doesn't seem to be for the purpose of providing convenience, but rather like a captive. Logically speaking, when pirates dominate an island, the most important thing is often personnel and weapons, so in addition to the distribution of pirate sundries on the island, there should be more weapons, ships and food. There will never be such a town. If Shikima was not mentally ill, he would not have moved the town to the island. Qingchuan Tianming's sharp evaluation made Jiraiya think seriously. But a pirate base camp has a town, which is really incredible. Teacher Jiraiya, I have an idea. Qingchuan Tianming said. Tell me about it. We will split into 2 groups to investigate. Teacher Jiraiya will get the information of the other 3 squad leaders from Ka Xiao, and then go to their camps to investigate. And I will investigate this town. Not bad. Jiraiya praised immediately. It is not a problem for Jiraiya to cross the entire island. With him leading Uzumaki Naruto, he can also help him grow. Qingchuan Tianming has a quick reaction, and it is most appropriate for him to act alone. The opinions hit it off, and the 3 of them parted ways. Not long after the 3 disappeared, the figure of the one-eyed fat man appeared behind the reef behind them. But now the expressions of anger and surprise squeezed out. His fleshy face. Separate actions. What a blessing. After leaving the Cardo camp, Qingchuan Tianming went straight to the center of the town. The entire town seemed to be tightly embedded in the middle of the island, and it looked quite prosperous. However, the prosperity became more and more weird. Walking on the streets of the town, there were bright lights and feasting all around. However, people doing business and strolling around were all pirates. Walking on the street, Qingchuan Tianming soon found a place full of people. Shikima Casino. The casino can be described as magnificent, and the atmosphere was instantly infected when entering it. It's just that the chips on each gambling table are not money but various gold and silver treasures. It's very hardcore. The 2 of them were in a mess, and the 2 sides were in a mess. In the casino, as Qingchuan Tianming entered, more eyes were on him. After all, Qingchuan Tianming's body is just that of a little kid, and he is so delicate that he doesn't look like a pirate. Hey! Look at the logo on your clothes. Are you Ka Xiao's man? An untimely voice sounded. Qingchuan Tianming turned around and saw a big man at a gambling table smoking a cigar and said, looks like a newcomer. The man sat casually. He was the only one sitting on the huge gambling table, and the others stood half of his body behind him. This man looked like a little boss with some prestige. Qingchuan Tianming raised the corner of his mouth and then walked to the gambling table and sat down opposite the man. This action directly shocked the people around him. What a newcomer. Doesn't this guy know what kind of seat he is sitting in? Qingchuan Tianming naturally noticed the strange looks from others. Why, isn't it for fun to come to the casino? Can't I sit in this seat? Okay. The man opposite smiled and clapped his hands, then puffed out a puff of smoke and said, "Of course you can play in the casino, but that seat hasn't been occupied for half a month. Oh, by the way, let me introduce myself, my name is Kikujiro." No one for half a month. Is the stakes too high? Qingchuan Tianming nodded. As soon as this sentence came out, the people around him took a breath of cold air. Is this guy really not afraid of death? Those who dare to gamble with Kikujiro on the island are probably not born yet. This kid not only dares to sit in a position that everyone regards as a taboo. He also ignored Kikujiro. Yes, ignore. Kikujiro introduced himself. Qingchuan Tianming skipped this step. The implication is very obvious. The corner of Kikujiro's eye twitched, and his smile became more exaggerated. It seems that I have waited for an extraordinary person today. Momotaro, introduce the rules to this guest. Yes, Lord Kikujiro. A Taoist priest with a pointed face and monkey cheeks in the crowd came up and said slowly, "My guest, the casino is fun, but there are different rules. You are sitting here at Kikujiro's gambling table. You can see that the gambling tables around are all filled with gold, silver and treasures. But ours is empty. Because Kikujiro's gambling table is a life-threatening one." Qingchuan Tianming raised his eyebrows and said indifferently, "Interesting, how do you gamble?" Quote. Snap. Kikujiro smiled and snapped his fingers. Several pirates behind him immediately pulled open a red curtain behind Kikujiro. Behind the red curtain, there were all kinds of organs on display. The scene that stimulated the senses was also unexpected by Qingchuan Tianming. My bet is very simple, hands, feet, limbs are life. Kikujiro said with a crazy look, there are all kinds of people sitting opposite me, but no one has ever given me fun right away. You are the first one. Thank you for the compliment. Qingchuan Tianming said indifferently, then if you lose, do you have to hand over your limbs? You are very courageous. Do you know who Lord Kikujiro is? Momotaro said with a gloomy face, Lord Kikujiro is the second captain under Lord Shikima. It is your honor to play with you in this capacity. Do you still want Lord Kikujiro's limbs? Do you believe that I am now? Puff. A cold knife light flashed, and Momotaro's head split apart. Too noisy. Qingchuan Tianming sheathed the sunwheel sword, killing people like killing chickens. Suddenly, the noise in the casino stopped. After Qingchuan Tianming cut Momotaro with a knife, everyone's scalp numbed. What else could this be but a madman? The atmosphere in the casino became depressing, and the overwhelming murderous aura pierced Qingchuan Tianming's back. Everyone was waiting for the order of Lord Kikujiro. How do you do things? The floor is dirty. Don't you know how to clean it? Kikujiro said indifferently. Although the people behind him didn't understand what Kikujiro meant, they still quickly cleaned up the bodies and bloodstains with their hands and feet. Kikujiro stood up slowly and glanced around. The garbage is still not clean enough. Quote. After the words fell, the others quickly left the casino. This move was not good. Clearing the casino meant that Lord Kikujiro was angry. Soon, only Qingchuan Tianming and Kikujiro were left in the huge casino. Let me guess, which country are you from? Kikujiro said directly. Forget it, it doesn't matter. Anyway. Soon you will become one of my collections. Quote. Qingchuan Tianming was not surprised when his identity was exposed. After all, Kikujiro is one of the 4 captains under Shikima. How can a person in such a position be a simple character? That's good. I'm not good at intelligence gathering. Qingchuan Tianming also stood up slowly and said, I have a question, what about Shikima's intelligence? Oh. Kikujiro laughed even more arrogantly. Are collections qualified to ask questions? Qingchuan Tianming shook his head and said arrogantly, wrong. I didn't ask you to answer now, but when you beg for mercy later, this will be your bargaining chip. The old man was so angry that he was beaten. Among the people I have met, no one is as arrogant as you. Kikujiro grinned. I hope your strength matches your arrogant words. Ninjutsu. Sea of Despair. Kikujiro began to make hand seals. As the hand seals changed, the chakra in his body also gushed out, and a torrent of water appeared in the casino, drowning everything he saw. Qingchuan Tianming raised his eyebrows slightly. His field of vision has become a vast ocean. But the sea water is not clear, on the contrary, it is abnormally turbid. Plurk. The sea water began to surge, and Kikajiro's figure disappeared on the sea. At this time, floating corpses rose from the seabed. These corpses died in various ways, which was enough to cause a huge impact. Illusion. As the captain under Shikima, Kikajiro was very good at it. In the ninjutsu confrontation, the most feared thing was illusion. Other escape techniques were the reserves of chakra and the power of the technique. Only illusion attacked the mental power. Qingchuan Tianming stood on the sea, not in a hurry to find Kikajiro's figure. On the contrary, he closed his eyes. Heart's eye. Qingchuan Tianming said lightly. Then he opened the first pupil technique of the blood dragon eye. Heart's eye. It has no attack power, but its resistance to illusion is outrageous. On the turbid sea, Kikajiro's figure quietly appeared behind Qingchuan Tianming. He used an illusion to kill countless powerful opponents. And this time is no exception. A cold blade flashed, and Kikajiro drew out his two swords and rushed over. Crotch. Just when the two swords were about to cut off Qingchuan Tianming, the sunwheel sword in the former's hand was unsheathed at a weird angle to block the attack. You are not under the illusion. Kikajiro was shocked. This killer does not work. Qingchuan Tianming slowly opened his eyes, revealing blood-red pupils, in which Kikajiro seemed to see what real despair was. Under my eyes, the illusion of the Sharingan is not a problem, let alone you. Qingchuan Tianming snorted coldly, but for a pirate, the facts of blood limit are too far away. Water escape water stream thorn. Kikajiro quickly retreated and began to form seals, and the water under his feet instantly rolled up, forming a series of sharp water thorns that whistled out. Spiritual summoning Brother Long. Qingchuan Tianming immediately summoned Brother Long. The wandering dragon returns to the sea. Although Brother Long is now more than 3 meters long, without claws or horns, he has a faint dragon power. Dragon sucks water. Brother Long is also very considerate, and he swallowed all the sharp water thorns into his mouth. Boy, do you want me to fight a small shrimp? Brother Long said with disdain. He was very dissatisfied with Kikajiro, who was really rubbish. Isn't this to let Brother Long stretch his muscles? Qingchuan Tianming laughed. Kikajiro, who was far away, watched the man and the dragon chatting. His mentality collapsed directly. This script is wrong. How can this person be so strong in his own territory and in his most proud illusion? Kikajiro has never seen anyone who can solve his illusion in seconds, except for Captain Shikima. But he saw it today. Speaking of it, pirates are just pirates. There is no comparison with serious ninjas. Knowing a little illusion and fighting skills is already the limit of Kikajiro. Unfortunately, he met Qingchuan Tianming. A person who can kill a Jonin in his genin period. Run. Otherwise you will be killed. Kikajiro did not hesitate to break the illusion and escape. But strangely, the illusion could not be broken. Oh. Do you want to leave? Qingchuan Tianming came behind Kikajiro and said, why is your ferocity so fleeting? Master. Kikajiro's legs softened and he became soft. I am willing to exchange my life for any price. I gave you a bargaining chip before, tell me the information about Shikima. Kikajiro's face was slightly bitter. I am the third in the Shikima pirates. The second captain is Soku and the first captain is Gagula. I don't know much about the captain of Shikima. Among the 4 captains, only Gagula is a confidant, and we can't see him except for paying gold, silver and jewelry to the captain, or the captain's meeting. What's going on in this town? Qingchuan Tianming continued. With Jiraiya's strength, the others combined are not enough to defeat him, so it doesn't matter what information he has. Now, I am curious about the town. Kikajiro's expression became more vivid. The town already existed when I arrived on the island, so I don't know what the town represents. What is the proportion of robbery every time you go out? Gold, silver and jewelry. Qingchuan Tianming changed the question. Population. Kikajiro replied. Captain Shikima never goes out to sea. His regular task is to rob, and population is more important than money. Some of these ordinary people will become slaves on the island, and some will be accepted by Captain Shikima, but it is not clear how to deal with the people accepted by the captain. Qingchuan Tianming narrowed his eyes slightly, and suddenly a light flashed. I understand. The island town always makes Qingchuan Tianming feel like a captive, and this is actually a captive. Shikima ordered 4 captains to go out to sea to rob, and the demand for population was even greater than that for gold and silver treasures, which is very suspicious. Pirates don't need money. Is it charity? Build a city and rob ordinary people to support them. What else do you know? Qingchuan Tianming asked. Uncle, I really know this much. Kikujiro said frustratedly. I understand. Qingchuan Tianming nodded, and his figure disappeared in the illusion world. Kikujiro was stunned for a moment, then he let out a shrill roar. Master, please let me out. The chips I gave you are just to tell you to die after you finish the message. I didn't say I would let you go. Qingchuan Tianming smiled evilly and walked to the door of the casino. Evil people need evil people to deal with them. Qingchuan Tianming doesn't think he is an evil person, but do you need to be honest with evil people? The door of the casino slowly opened, and when Qingchuan Tianming appeared in front of everyone. The pirates outside the casino were dumbfounded. They all knew that as long as Lord Kikujiro closed the door, it meant that he would not open the door if he was not satisfied, but now Qingchuan Tianming came out. Could it be that Lord Kikujiro changed his nature? He stopped killing people. Without paying attention to the pirates who were collectively confused, Qingchuan Tianming walked out of the crowd, and no one dared to stop him. Lord Kikujiro. The pirates ran into the casino after realizing it and saw Kikujiro sitting in his seat. He had died in the illusion world. Boom. The news of Kikujiro's death shocked the whole island, and all the troops were alarmed. Kikujiro is dead. Ka Xiao's camp. In the main hall, Ka Xiao heard the news from his men and couldn't sit still. Although Kikujiro was only the third captain, his strength was not comparable to his own. And it was no secret that Kikujiro liked to torture and kill people for pleasure. You said such a ruthless person died in his own casino. It's outrageous. Where is the fat man? Ka Xiao suddenly remembered something. The three people in the daytime had been on the island for half a day. Kikujiro is dead. It is enough to prove that they have the strength and want to subvert this island. At present, keeping a low profile is the kingly way. It depends on whether they win or lose against Shikima. Reporting to Master Ka, just now Fatty has led a group of people to Master Suokong's camp. Master Ka's face turned green all of a sudden. Of course, he knew what the one-eyed fat man was going to do, but it was because he knew that he was terrified. Send someone to call Fatty back immediately. Forget it, I'll do it myself. Master Ka stood up, gathered people and walked out of the camp in a hurry. The last madness in the night is about to come. At the same time, in the huge castle at the highest point of the island. The news of Kikujiro's death also came. In the castle hall, there was a feminine man on the main seat. The man's long hair made it difficult to see his face, but his momentum was extremely strong. What's the matter? The man said, his voice was quite sharp. Reporting to Master Shikima, the third captain Kikujiro was just killed. The person who spoke was a sturdy man with a big back hair. Oh. Shikima raised her eyebrows and said, my research has just been completed, and flies have come to my door. It is said that the person who killed Kikujiro is still in the town. The clothes on his body are the symbol of the fourth captain Ka Xiao. Suokong lowered his head and said, with a feeling of eradicating everything for the person in front of him. As long as Lord Shikima gives the order, I can take action at any time. No need. Shikima shook her head and said, Ka Xiao and Kikujiro are minor problems. The important thing is my new research. It's almost time for Gagula. Shikima pressed the secret compartment on the chair, and a long passage extended from the wall behind him. Suokong, follow me, I will give you unpredictable abilities. After saying that, Shikima pushed the snake tail into the passage, and Suokong followed closely. After the two left, the passage gradually returned to its original state. At the same time, two figures appeared in the hidden place of the huge beam on the dome of the hall. It was Jiraiya and Uzumaki Naruto who had sneaked in all the way. Romantic sage, is that guy a snake? Uzumaki Naruto asked in a low voice. He is still far from being worthy of the name of snake. Jiraiya said lightly. He saw all the problems. The Shikima pirates were doing human body research in private under the guise of pirates. There was a first-hand understanding of such things. For example, it's Orochimaru. This Shachima should be a fanatical believer of Orochimaru. No, maybe he was once a failure of Orochimaru. Whether it's the shape or the part of transforming himself, or even building a town and capturing people for experiments. All point to one purpose. That is to imitate Orochimaru. Surpass Orochimaru. Naruto kid, I'll go into that passage later, you wait outside. Jiraiya said. Romantic sage, I can fight too. Uzumaki Naruto said unconvinced. Come on, a kid like you is not enough to deal with this kind of battle at the moment, and you have a mission outside. If pirates emerge, they will be handed over to you. The old man was sitting on the ground, and the old man was sitting on the ground. Jiraiya jumped down from the beam with a light jump, came to the main seat and pressed the switch, and the passage behind it spread out again. Without any hesitation, he stepped forward. After entering the passage, the door on the wall slowly closed, as if it had never appeared. In the passage, Jiraiya's footsteps were very light, for fear of touching some mechanism. But he was too cautious, and there was no mechanism in the passage. Soon, light appeared in front, and a huge underground space was connected at the end of the passage. The castle is connected to the mountain, and all of Shikima's research results were completed here. Jiraiya squatted in a hidden position and stared at the scene below. There were many experimental vessels piled up in the hollowed-out mountain. There were nutrient solutions in the vessels, and strange-looking people were soaking in them. Anyone who could be put into the vessels was worth transforming. Generally, only people with strong physical fitness could withstand inhuman torture. Master Shikima, Master Sokong. As soon as Shikima and Sokong appeared, the people around them gathered around. How is Gagula? Shikima asked. Master Gagula's values are perfect. The staff member pulled open a curtain while introducing. Behind the curtain was a larger vessel with a man whose face could not be seen clearly. At this time, the man's appearance was astonishing. Tentacles grew up from the man's neck, flying around and absorbing the nutrient solution. It's done. Shikima said with a surprised look on his face. Finally, after working so hard for so long, it's finally done. I finally figured out the power of the curse seal. Shikima was shaking with excitement. He was one of Orochimaru's experimental subjects, but he was too weak to survive the initial development of the curse seal. Shikima, whose body was thrown into the wilderness, did not die, but survived with amazing perseverance. He was not defeated by the life of Orochimaru's slave, and he didn't even hate Orochimaru. All he had was gratitude. Shikima seemed to have opened the door to a new world. Since then, he has established a pirate group, stealth pirates, and robbed the passing merchant ships of the Wave Country for research. And the town on the island was built by him. The purpose is to keep people in captivity. Put people in the town to live and study their life. After they let down their guard, they will be forced to do experiments to experience different emotions. Enjoy the pleasure of destruction. Those who can be successfully transformed are his subordinates, and those who fail will be cleared out. In the huge vessel, the nutrient solution was quickly absorbed, and the gargula inside also opened his murderous eyes. Boom! The tentacles behind Gargula's neck waved gently, and the huge vessel shattered. Lord Shikima. Gargula walked out and saluted Shikima. Gagra, how do you feel? Thank you Lord Shikima for giving me extraordinary power. I have always been your sharpest sword. Gargula has always been Shikima's confidant, and a simple sentence showed his position. Sokon. How do you feel? Shikima smiled. You have a chance to experience extraordinary power, do you want to try it? Thank you Lord Shikima. Sokong said in a rough voice, whoever refuses this is a fool. Among the four captains, Gargula is the strongest, but Gargula once gave Sokong the feeling that he could fight a few moves, but now facing Gargula, it is unfathomable and there is no fight. The experiment has a chance of failure. Of course, this is related to your own strength and chakra reserves, but there is still a chance. If you fail and become something else, then I will still use you. Shikima said. Sokong understands, and I am willing to work for Lord Shikima. Sokong said and walked into another container specially prepared for him without any hesitation. After Sokong was in place, the nutrient solution rose from the soles of his feet, spreading and soaking Sokong's body, and at the same time, a tiny tube slowly poked into his body. Shikima and Gagula looked at Sokong's transformation side by side, and the latter suddenly said, Lord Shikima, what is the direction of Sokong's transformation? Shikima's research is actually not complicated. It is to use human experiments to create a medicine to balance the repulsion of the attributes of the human body and organisms. After years of hard work, it finally succeeded, and then it was used on Gagula. This is the inferior power of the curse seal, which is the fusion of the deep-sea giant squid and Gagula. Shikima shook her head and said, I don't plan to let him transform. Gurugula raised his eyebrows, not quite understanding. Gagula, human hearts are the most difficult to control. Once people have strength, they will have different thoughts. Shikima smiled and said, the meaning of the existence of this pirate group is to push you and me to a new height. While talking here, Jiraiya above also heard it clearly. Using innocent people to conduct inhuman experiments, such a sin is worth dying for many times. But before Jiraiya took action, he was noticed by Shikima. This guest has been watching for so long, shouldn't he show up? After all, my experiments also need to be appreciated by others. The old man was so angry that he was lying on the ground. Jiraiya appeared on the passage, looked at Shikima below with indifference and said, you deserve to die for your own selfishness, involving innocent people. Shikima smiled disapprovingly and said, the strong prey on the weak, I just help them realize their life value. The strong prey on the weak. Jiraiya laughed and said, then I will end your life. You are not allowed to offend Lord Shikima. Gagula on the side shot out, drew a ninja sword from his waist, and slashed at Jiraiya with the blade. Ninjutsu. Needle Jizo. Jiraiya's long hair instantly hardened and wrapped it to block the knife. After his sword was blocked, Gurugula immediately abandoned his sword and began to form seals with both hands, saying, wind style, wind cannon. Gagula put his hands together to create a hole, and the violent wind style ability burst out from the hole. Your strength is not enough to face me. Jiraiya did not dodge or avoid, and actually solved the needle Jizo directly. At the same time, he raised his hand. The Rasengan gathered directly. Jiraiya, holding the Rasengan, flashed and rushed out. The repelling Rasengan directly blocked the wind hole. Boom. The Rasengan was directly pressed on Gurugula's abdomen, and the former was blown away by the recoil of the Rasengan. Such strength also surprised Shachima below to defeat Gurugula in a moment. After all, when the Wave Country hired ninjas to attack the island, Gurugula became famous for killing 3 Jonin in a row. On the other side, the sound of the explosion in the underground laboratory spread throughout the castle. The pirates in charge of guarding rushed into the castle with shocked faces. In the hall, Naruto Uzumaki, who was squatting on the beam, also noticed the movement. Did the lecherous sage take action? At this time, the door of the hall was pushed open domineeringly, and pirates appeared like a tide. Wait. Naruto Uzumaki jumped down from the beam and blocked all the pirates. You can't pass. Is it an invader? Kill, kill, kill. The bloodthirsty pirates raised their swords and were about to charge. The lecherous sage said that I should stop you. How could I disappoint him? Naruto Uzumaki snorted coldly, and then quickly formed seals with both hands. Multiple shadow clone technique. Instantly, Naruto Uzumaki summoned all the clones he could summon at this stage. It was impossible to estimate the number. Anyway, half of the hall was already overcrowded. Kill. A small-scale war broke out in the castle. Uzumaki Naruto blocked all the small fish by himself. At the same time, in the town, Qingchuan Tianming, who was in charge of the investigation, saw the scene of flames rising to the sky at the highest point, and instantly understood that it must be Jiraiya and Uzumaki Naruto who attacked the base camp. Just as he was about to go to support, Qingchuan Tianming felt a strong murderous aura. On the street where he stood, the pedestrians all had fierce looks on their faces. Qingchuan Tianming knew that he was being targeted. Boy, you've made me so miserable. The crowd dispersed, and the one-eyed fat man stepped out slowly. If you kick me into the water again, I swear to cut you into pieces. Qingchuan Tianming looked indifferent. How many people did you bring with you? Humph. You have no chance of winning. The one-eyed fat man grinned. Everywhere I look, there are people who are here to kill you. I understand. Qingchuan Tianming nodded and said, since there are no innocent people, then kill them all. You are so shameless, today I will see who kills who. Brothers, follow me. The one-eyed fat man shouted, and the passers-by took out their weapons and gradually surrounded him. Huh. Qingchuan Tianming sighed. He didn't like killing people, but there were always people rushing to die. Reikiri. Qingchuan Tianming took the initiative to attack, the lightning in his palm flashed, and a straight ray directly slaughtered all the pirates in a certain direction. However, it was not over yet. Qingchuan Tianming released the Reikiri with one hand and freed one hand to start making seals. Thunder Style. Chidori Sharp Spear. The Thunder Style chakra in the body was circulated, and the power of the Reikiri ray was further expanded, and at the same time it bloomed like a flower at the end. Chakra is limited, don't be afraid, keep going. The one-eyed fat man continued to encourage his vision. Qingchuan Tianming just felt like laughing. Using the human wave tactics to consume his chakra was simply a dream. He drew out the sun wheel sword with his backhand, and the blade of the thunder style pressed out in. The person at the front was chopped down, and at the same time, he flipped his wrist and struck out with a wind-escaping sword. The ultimate chakra paired with the Nichiren sword. Qingchuan Tianming doesn't even need to use the hand seal of the not escape technique. The attribute chakra moved by his mind can be released through the Nichiren sword. Killing these people is really like chopping vegetables and melons. At this time, Master Ka and a group of people from the other side of the street had arrived. When they saw Qingchuan Tianming slashing a street with one knife at a time, Mr. Ka couldn't help but his legs were shaking. What kind of murderous god did he provoke? Master Kasha, don't we support Fatty? A younger brother asked. Stop farting on me. Help the ninja master immediately and kill Suokong's people. The one-eyed fat man never dreamed that the person who stole his ass was actually Master Ka. Qingchuan Tianming killed people like cutting vegetables and melons. When the one-eyed fat man had some intention of retreating, he was surrounded from behind, and it was Master Ka who surrounded him. Master Ka. The one-eyed fat man was stunned. This script is wrong. Didn't you nod to surround and kill this kid? Don't try to get close to me. If you go against Master Ninja, you are going against Master Ka. Brothers, kill these people with me. Master Ka drew out his sword domineeringly and went forward to chop people. Poor one-eyed fat man's men were chopped down before they understood what was going on. After all, it was no problem for Ka Xiao to kill his own people in order to protect himself. The changes in the rear naturally attracted Qingchuan Tianming's attention. He understood Ka Xiao's little thoughts. Kikujiro was killed. Jiraiya and Uzumaki Naruto attacked the base camp head-on, and Ka Xiao could only stand on the side. He was the weakest, and if he couldn't see the situation clearly, he would die anyway. Uncle Ninja, you go, leave these people to me. Ka Xiao and Qingchuan Tianming looked at each other and said loudly. I still have a way to beat my teammates. Then I'll leave it to you. Qingchuan Tianming said a word and disappeared on the street. Looking up at the base camp with flames rising to the sky, Qingchuan Tianming suddenly had an idea and summoned Brother Long. Boy, you were abused again. Brother Long was very pretentious when he came out. Brother Long, I want you to take me for a ride. Qingchuan Tianming knew Brother Long's temper and didn't care much. Brother Long glanced at the sky and sighed, although it is impossible for a dragon to be a mount, who made me your summoned beast. Come on. Brother Long took the initiative to lower his posture. Thank you, Brother Long. The 4-meter-long body is now no problem for a person. What Brother Long didn't know was that today's first mount experience was just the beginning. Qingchuan Tianming rode Brother Long into the sky and soared towards the castle. At the same time, in the castle, most of Uzumaki Naruto's clones were destroyed, and those pirates who wanted to attack were also blocked at the door. Naruto's body was almost exhausted. He was not at the point of taking on a group alone, so he could only block their steps. Even with the 9 tails chakra in his body, Uzumaki Naruto was a little overwhelmed, and that state could not be opened just by wanting to. Brothers, this guy is no good. Kill all these clones and we can kill him. Suddenly, a pirate leader shouted at the top of his lungs. As the clones were eliminated one after another, Uzumaki Naruto summoned new clones, and the strength of the clones was greatly reduced. I will never let you disturb the lecherous sage. Uzumaki Naruto said with a firm look. If we hold you back, it will not only be a relief for the lecherous sage, but also for Tianming. More and more pirates gathered from the camps of the 4 squad leaders to the castle. It can be said that there were endless people to kill. In the end, Uzumaki Naruto even had weak legs and could not stand steadily. Just when he desperately squeezed the Nine Tails chakra to stop the pirates, Qingchuan Tianming came riding a dragon. Lightning release, thunder flash. Looking at the endless stream of pirate soldiers and Naruto who was struggling in the hall, the sun blade was unsheathed. A slash of lightning slashed through. The last time, Qingchuan Tianming directly cut off the head of Shukaku with a flash of lightning. And this time, it was like a dragon swimming into the sea. The lightning chakra gathered madly on the sun blade, and when it reached a critical value, it was poured out in one breath. Boom boom boom. A series of air explosions sounded, and the pirate army outside was directly torn into a shocking mouth, and nearly 1/3 of them were sent to the west by a knife. The power of thunder and lightning pierced the earth and left a pungent smell, which was the smell of barbecue. The next moment, Qingchuan Tianming had already arrived in the hall. In the middle of Naruto's clone and the pirate army. Silence. Deathly silence. The sound of the pirate army shouting and killing. The sound of swords crossing, all stopped at this moment. After all, the scene that just happened overturned the cognition of all pirates. The army gathered in the camps everywhere could not take down a hall guarded by one person. And the man who suddenly appeared killed 1/3 of their troops with just one sword. Who would dare to move? Tianming, you are here. Uzumaki Naruto looked relieved. Naruto. Qingchuan Tianming. He gave Uzumaki Naruto a thumbs up and said, "You've done a good job. You don't need to release your chakra anymore. Leave everything to me." After he finished speaking, Qingchuan Tianming stepped out. The pirate leader's legs trembled and they subconsciously retreated. Qingchuan Tianming walked, dragging his sun blade on the ground, leaving traces on the ground. And the pirates left the hall. There was no mercy in Qingchuan Tianming's eyes. These pirates had countless lives, so it was normal to use their deaths to atone for their sins. Qingchuan Tianming closed and opened his eyes, and his pupils had turned blood red. In the blood dragon eye state, his pupils shrank slightly. Pupil technique nirvana. The second pupil of the blood dragon eye is annihilation. The blood-colored pupil twisted out, and a blood-colored aura suddenly enveloped it. After obtaining this pair of eyes in the Valley of the End, Qingchuan Tianming also studied it for a while. From then on, two pupil techniques were developed. One is the heart eye for detection, and the other is annihilation. The latter technique is as its name suggests, and it can be regarded as an AoE damage. The pirates outside the field were instantly hit by the illusion, and their vision was synchronized. They practiced and put down the swords in their hands. At this time, blood flowed from the corners of Qingchuan Tianming's eyes, as the pupils turned. All the pirates present also had blood flowing from their 7 orifices. Human bomb. When the chakra broke through everyone's body, it became agitated, and then the pirates' bodies swelled up, and then exploded with a bang. There was no scream, not even a violent explosion. The pirates outside the castle were wiped out without a trace. Qingchuan Tianming couldn't stand steadily and almost fell down. This time he was squeezed out clearly. Since killing Kikujiro, his chakra has been kept in an active state. He killed people on the street and summoned Brother Long to the castle to use Thunder Flash and Pupil Technique. These are all great losses. Tianming. Uzumaki Naruto hurriedly trotted over and said, "Your neck. Don't worry, it's okay." Qingchuan Tianming knew that the power of the curse seal had taken effect again. Whenever he was weak, it would be like this. "Find me a quiet place," Qingchuan Tianming said. Uzumaki Naruto immediately helped Qingchuan Tianming to a relatively hidden place. "You rest here, I'll go in to help." As he said, Naruto was about to head for the passage. Naruto. Qingchuan Tianming shook his head and said, "That battle is not something you can intervene in. Besides, you have to believe in Teacher Jiraiya, he is one of the 3 ninjas of Konoha." Uzumaki Naruto scratched his head and said, "That makes sense, I'm too weak. Don't be so self-deprecating, just work hard on your practice." Qingchuan Tianming comforted him. "I know, you recover first, I'll guard you outside the door." Uzumaki Naruto walked out of the hall. Qingchuan Tianming also sat cross-legged. To recover chakra, he just needed to sit quietly. "Boy, you're not in good condition." Brother Long's voice sounded in the system space. "I know." Qingchuan Tianming nodded. Brother Long should mean Orochimaru's curse seal. If the power of the curse seal is also evil, it will not get better. Boy, you're in bad shape. Qingchuan Tianming's mouth twitched and he said, I don't know how to remove the power of this curse. In the original book, the curse is indeed ineradicable, but with the increase of strength and chakra, the influence of the curse can be minimized. Brother Long can help you settle it, but there is a condition. Huh. Qingchuan Tianming suspected that he had heard it wrong. You can settle the curse seal. There is a condition. Wait, aren't you my summoned beast? Listen to me first. This condition requires you to nod your head and agree. It is a win-win situation. I am your summoned beast, but if I become stronger, won't it enhance your strength? Tell me about it. I want to absorb more of your chakra. When I grow to 10 meters, I can get rid of a restriction of summoning and can live in your curse seal to change it. Then you can remove the side effects of the curse seal, and summon me to fight without using summoning. Is there such a thing? Qingchuan Tianming was stunned. In Naruto, summoned beasts are summoned through scroll contracts and blood seals. I didn't expect Brother Long to change such a rule. Brother Long, the problem is, if you further expand my chakra absorption, my combat aspect. Qingchuan Tianming's extreme chakra is still the same. The recovery data is far beyond that of ordinary people, but it does not mean that it is inexhaustible. So this is what you have to consider. All ninjutsu are provided by chakra. If the chakra is not running smoothly, the degree of combat will also be reduced. Without ninjutsu, its physical skills and illusions will not work. The former is only the 8 gates, not to mention that the thing is exclusive to Might Guy, and it will not work even if it is practiced for a short time, and the latter. The illusion of the blood dragon eye is okay when encountering some unknown enemies, but it must be encountered. The master is almost a decoration. As Qingchuan Tianming develops, he comes to the crossroads of choice again. First, it is to completely solve the side effects of the curse seal, and at the same time break the rules of the spiritual art, so that Brother Long becomes stronger to assist himself in the battle. Second, it is to bear the side effects of the curse seal. As long as Qingchuan Tianming becomes stronger, the side effects will also become stronger. After pondering for a while, Qingchuan Tianming looked down at the sun wheel sword in his hand. Then his eyes became clear. If the chakra is sharply reduced, then focus on the swordsmanship. The sun wheel sword should be able to beat all ninja tools, and if you use the sword, can you develop various swordsmanship? The right amount of chakra is combined with swordsmanship to release powerful attacks. Brother Long, you let go of the absorption. The battle in the underground laboratory in the passageway came to an end. Just as Qingchuan Tianming was recovering, the battle in the underground laboratory in the passageway also came to an end. The laboratory was in a mess, and the rest of the scientific researchers were killed and injured in countless numbers. All kinds of instruments and experimental subjects were destroyed. Jiraiya stood on the ruins, looking at the wreckage indifferently. Kara. There was a sound under the wreckage, and a sturdy body shot out. The huge body instantly occupied nearly half of the underground laboratory space. At the dome, 2 hideous snake heads can be seen. The battle in the underground laboratory was very dramatic. After the battle, Gagula, who gained strength, took the lead in attacking Jiraiya, but was beaten into a grandson. The crappy deep-sea giant squid was useless. He was fixed on the ground by a move of Wonquan Swamp, and was finally taken away by a set of toad mouth binding technique. The extremely shocked Shikima personally took action, and his strength was more ferocious than that of Gagula. But something went wrong during the fight. Because Jiraiya always had the upper hand, the Sokuroku in the container became a snake. After Shikima swallowed it, it evolved into a 2-headed snake, and the situation did not change. Who are you? Shikima's snake head spit out the tongue and said coldly. It was the first time in so many years that he felt powerless. I, Jiraiya, was called a 3 ninja when I was young. Jiraiya said lightly. 3 ninjas. Shikima seemed to have learned some extraordinary information, and her eyes widened. I didn't expect you to be Jiraiya, the 3 ninjas. Shikima didn't know Jiraiya, but she knew the name of the 3 ninjas very well. The title of the 3 ninjas came from the battle between the Konoha troops and the leader of the Rain Ninja village, Hanzo, during the Second Shinobi World War. Although Jiraiya, Orochimaru and Tsunade were defeated by Hanzo, The three of them persisted to the end, and Hanzo gave them the title of the three ninjas of Konoha, and they were feared by the ninja world for being able to survive in Hanzo's hands. And for Shikima, Jiraiya was an equal to that man. I was once the failed vessel of Lord Orochimaru. After I was lucky enough to survive, I did not hate him, and I imitated him. All my research today is what I have experienced before. I want to follow Orochimaru's footsteps and become stronger, and have the strength to stand opposite him. But it seems that there is no chance today, but it's good. I am worth enough to die in the hands of someone like you. Shikima muttered to herself, and then the huge two-headed snake body began to split and brew the final blow. A madman like Orochimaru will also be highly respected by madmen. Jiraiya shook his head and said, a true ninja relies on honing himself to become a strong man, not like Orochimaru, like you. Spirit summoning. Jiraiya made a seal with both hands and slapped the ground. When the smoke rose, Gamabunta also appeared incomparably powerful. On the ground, Qingchuan Tianming recovered almost completely. When he stood up, he found Uzumaki Naruto circling around the door in a very anxious manner. Naruto, don't worry, those pirates can't come. Qingchuan Tianming comforted. Ka Xiao chose to stand in the team, and naturally arranged the troops below. I am worried about the lecherous immortal, and I don't know what the situation is over there. Although they often quarreled, Uzumaki Naruto still cared about Jiraiya. Teacher Jiraiya is fine. As soon as Qingchuan Tianming finished speaking, the huge castle trembled violently, and then a huge force radiated from the passage, and the castle was directly torn into two halves. The two quickly ran out, and the next moment the magnificent castle collapsed. Then, a huge black shadow burst out from the ruins. It was Gamabunta. Gamabunta maintained a posture of stepping forward and slashing, and there was still blood on the huge short sword. The lecherous sage. Uzumaki Naruto said in surprise, where are the enemies? Of course they were dealt with. Jiraiya smiled knowingly when he saw the two disciples. In this way, the three of them set foot on the island for one day and directly defeated the Shikima pirates. Shikima was unable to show his research results to the world before his death. And now, the Shikima pirates are in name only. There are no other strong men except Ka Xiao, and even many pirates have been cleared out. After the master and apprentice left the castle, they went straight to. The pirates found a random boat on the beach and were about to leave. Teacher Jiraiya, leaving Ka Xiao behind may cause trouble. Qingchuan Tianming, standing on the deck, expressed his concerns. Tianming boy, your concerns are not wrong, but we can't kill them all. It is the country's business to judge from a commanding height, and ninjas have never survived by killing and stopping killing. Jiraiya smiled and said, that guy has limited strength. Let's report to the wave country and let them deal with it themselves. Jiraiya's approach is still very appropriate. In the territory of the wave country, he does not occupy the qualification of judgment. Instead, he handed over the judgment to the wave country. The two of them were so busy that they had to face each other. Just after Jiraiya and his three companions left by boat, things developed as normal, and the unique Ka Xiao quickly swept the territories of other captains. There is no boss in the mountains, and the monkey is the king. But Ka Xiao didn't expect that the day of destruction would come soon. Of course, this is all later. 3 days later, the ship stopped at the port of Wave Country. As soon as he got off the boat, Qingchuan Tianming saw Karen standing on the dock and waiting. Why are you here? Qingchuan Tianming asked. After I found a hotel in Wave Country, I come here every day to wait like this. Karen replied. Romantic immortal, how many benefits did Tianming give you? How could you let him take a girl? Uzumaki Naruto felt so sour as if he had eaten a lemon. Jiraiya laughed twice. Naruto kid, there are reasons you don't know, but if you can let a girl follow me, I can also take her. Uzumaki Naruto. After everyone went to the hotel from the pier, they went to a hot spring to wash away the fatigue of the past few days. Jiraiya did not have the traditional skills to peek at the girl taking a bath, and even did not go to the tavern to drink after coming out of the hot spring. Teacher Jiraiya, what is the main content of our training in the land of waves? Qingchuan Tianming asked with some curiosity. Put aside the training for now. I have to go meet the royal family of Wave Country first. After returning to the room, Jiraiya began to get ready, Besides, that Ka Xiao dog will never change his evil ways. We can only take advantage of now to let the royal family of Wave Country pay great attention to it. It would be even better if we can launch a hiring mission to Fire Country. After hearing this, Qingchuan Tianming had to admire Jiraiya. You are worthy of it. Tsunade has just taken office. It is unbearable for a woman to become Hokage. There is also Shimura Danzo in the dark. This operation of the royal family of Wave Country directly initiating a mission request to Konoha will undoubtedly consolidate Tsunade's position. You stay here first, I'll be back soon. After saying that, Jiraiya disappeared in the room. I'm going back to my room to practice chakra. Uzumaki Naruto waved his hand and went back to the room. Just when Qingchuan Tianming was about to go back to his room, Karen pulled his sleeve. Tianming, can we go shopping together? On the wide streets of Wave Country, Qingchuan Tianming and Karen stood side by side, and many pedestrians along the way stole surprised glances. After all, this man and woman are really pleasing to the eye. Qingchuan Tianming wore a black short shirt, and his long blue hair was tied into a ponytail behind his head. Under the slightly messy bangs was a pair of sharp sword eyebrows and starry eyes. The 14-year-old Qingchuan Tianming gradually transitioned from childishness to maturity in appearance. And Uzumaki Karen, with her fiery red long hair, was already beautiful and eye-catching. She looked even more amazing without the frame glasses, and at the same time, her size was already very good at a young age. It really felt like a pair of beautiful women. Tianming, look at this. The two came to a small stall, and Karen pointed to a string of very beautiful wind chimes made of conchs and said, so beautiful. The land of waves is close to the sea, and most of the main items are seafood. Even such pleasing things are made of conchs. Do you like it? Then buy it. Qingchuan Tianming glanced at the conch wind chimes. The largest conch was a little red, and it looked pretty. You two guests have really good taste. The vendor also flattered. Then this one. Qingchuan Tianming said and opened his wallet to pay. But the vendor stared at Qingchuan Tianming's wrist for a while and then said in disbelief, You. Are you a Konoha ninja? Ah. Qingchuan Tianming was a little confused. When he became a genin, everyone received a Konoha ninja forehead protector. Some people wear the forehead protector on their foreheads, some wear it on their waists, and some roll up their sleeves. Qingchuan Tianming didn't wear it like this. He took off the forehead protector, polished the iron sheet of the forehead protector and only kept the Vortex logo, and made it into a bracelet. Even Qingchuan Tianming didn't pay attention to this bracelet, but now it has been seen through. Any questions? Yes. The vendor pushed the money back and said, thanks to the Konoha ninjas protecting our master Dazna, and the Konoha ninjas helping the royal family to clear the power of Kado, the people of our Wave Country have a good life. So the Konoha ninjas are the great benefactors of the Wave Country. How can I accept the money of a great benefactor? The vendor shouted. The people around were also shocked. Is it the Konoha ninja? Great benefactor. Konoha ninjas can receive the highest courtesy in the land of waves. This is a royal rule. Are they the Konoha ninjas who drove away Kado? How could Qingchuan Tianming have thought that the subsequent mission of the land of waves could cause such a sensation? Now, not to mention the wind chime sellers, the Odin, vegetable, and clothing sellers all came over, and there were even aunties holding hands with delicate girls. Everyone is too polite. We were just carrying out the mission at the beginning. Qingchuan Tianming took Karen's hand, stuffed the money for the wind chime into the vendor's pocket, and then ran away. The people of Wave Country were very enthusiastic. After Qingchuan Tianming pulled Karen to run, they followed behind. A marathon suddenly took place on the street. But Qingchuan Tianming was much faster, and he always kept the lead with Karen. In the end, in order to completely get rid of the enthusiastic people, they rushed directly to the shrine on the side. They walked all the way to the shrine along the steps, and before they could breathe a sigh of relief, the noisy voices of the people at the foot of the mountain came again. Helplessly, they could only continue walking. Behind the shrine was the forest. Not long after entering the forest, they finally got rid of the people's pursuit. Finally got rid of them. Qingchuan Tianming sighed. He didn't like being surrounded. Karen's face flushed, and she smiled. It's so fun, it's like eloping. Ah. Qingqiu and Tianming found that Uzumaki Karen was getting bolder and bolder, and she kept saying some lewd words. Am I wrong? Karen looked at Qingqiu and Tianming straight and said. Probably. Qingqiu and Tianming nodded. The atmosphere suddenly became mysterious, and Karen suddenly approached Qingqiu and Tianming as if she wanted to eat him. Karen, wait a minute, we are still young. We can't do this. Qingqiu and Tianming said hurriedly. Even my strong brother Tianming was scared. Poochie. Karen covered her mouth and chuckled. I know, then it's okay when you grow up a little bit. Qingqiu and Tianming was embarrassed. Was this arranged? But it doesn't matter. Qingqiu and Tianming is not a stone. How can he not have feelings for Karen after being together for so long? Even if we take a step back, now that both of them are single, it doesn't matter if they are in love. Just like that, somehow, the relationship between the two changed again. The two walked side by side, and Karen boldly took Qingqiu and Tianming's hand. Qingqiu and Tianming was a little uncomfortable at first, but then he thought, what am I afraid of as a grown man? Feeling the warmth from Qingqiu and Tianming's palm, Karen's smile had turned into a crescent. There is a big difference between running away and actively responding. Just like that, the two walked and stopped and soon came to a quiet bamboo forest. Karen's expression changed slightly and said, Tianming, this bamboo forest is a little strange. Strange. Qingqiu and Tianming looked around, and the lush and tall bamboo forest seemed to have nothing unusual except for being pleasing to the eye. The arrangement of these bamboos is very strange, and there is a faint chakra connection around them. Karen said slowly, it should be carefully arranged by someone. At this time, a breeze blew in the bamboo forest, and a layer of mist suddenly rose. Several masked ninjas with knives appeared in the mist. The appearance of the masked ninjas did not emit strong chakra. Instead, they were full of murderous aura. Karen, pay attention, this is an illusion. Qingqiu and Tianming's pupils turned into blood dragon eyes and spoke lightly. If the masked ninjas were real, those chakras could not be suppressed, and the mist rising in the bamboo forest was very strange. Tianming, are you okay? Karen was a little worried. Although she had a strong sense, she was not proficient in illusions. No big deal. In the blood dragon eye state, Qingqiu and Tianming ignored any illusions. She was worried that Karen would be affected by illusions. Don't worry about me. My physique will not be affected by illusions. Karen said in a telepathic way. That's good. Qingqiu and Tianming nodded and drew out the sun wheel sword with his backhand. At this time, a bamboo leaf fell and split in half during the fall. At the same time, several masked ninjas also drew out their ninja swords and surrounded them. Smash! Here comes the ninja sword. A sharp step forward slash was thrown at Qingqiu and Tianming, which was different from the swords used by others. The sword skills of these masked ninjas have sword intentions. The ninja tools of ordinary ninjas are just tools to assist in combat, and ninja swords and the like are used for assassination. But what Qingqiu and Tianming encountered, in addition to impeccable sword skills, there was also a cold sword intention. Block. Qingqiu and Tianming blocked a step forward slash with the sunwheel sword, and the opponent's sword intention was transmitted through the sunwheel sword. At this time, another person appeared behind him and jumped high to kill Qingqiu and Tianming. Wind-style wind-killing formation. After Qingqiu and Tianming knocked the masked ninja in front of him away, he used ninjutsu in reverse. 3 sword beams rushed out to split the masked ninja in the air in half. At the same time, 2 chakra blades disappeared in the air and turned into vines to restrain the remaining 2 masked ninjas. However, strange. Something happened. The 2 masked ninjas actually broke free from the chakra restraints, and broke free without destroying the chakra. The masked ninja took a few steps forward and did not continue to attack. Instead, he put away his sword and dissipated like mist. Not bad swordsmanship, young man, you are promising. At this time, a somewhat hunched figure appeared on a bamboo in the back. It was an old man in green shirt whose face could not be seen clearly. Although his figure was a little hunched, he gave people the feeling of a sword. Who are you? Qingqiu and Tianming said. My name is Ai. The old man said slowly. Just now it was just a small test for you. You passed, as Jiraiya said, you are very good. The old man was very happy. Do you know Jiraiya? Qingqiu and Tianming's mind was turning. Could it be the old friend that Jiraiya said he wanted to visit? More than knowing each other. The old man Ai said, I have known Jiraiya for some time. We drank and bathed together in the past. This is not important. Huh. After knowing that Ai was not an enemy, Qingchuan Tianming sheathed the knife and said in amazement, although Jiraiya is old, he looks younger than you. What do you know, little brat? The old man Ai said unhappily, you can go down the mountain now. Not only women care about age, Ai also cares about it. Ah. Qingchuan Tianming could only bow apologetically and said, then I'll leave first. Not long after leaving with Karen, a bamboo forest had disappeared without a trace. This was not a bamboo forest at all, it was clearly behind the shrine. When Qingchuan Tianming and Karen returned to the hotel, Jiraiya also came back from the palace. Teacher Jiraiya, how is the situation? Qingchuan Tianming said. What else can it be? The wave country naturally attaches great importance to it, and the king even bluntly said that he would hire Konoha ninjas to deal with the pirates. Jiraiya said confidently, how could he tell the truth? After Jiraiya entered the palace, his identity as a Konoha ninja allowed him to receive the most courtesy. And Jiraiya applied for a mixed bath with the girl, the kind that only takes a bath. Tenming boy, where have you been? Jiraiya saw the mess on Qingchuan Tianming and said. Then, Qingchuan Tianming told the story of meeting Ai in the bamboo forest after being chased by enthusiastic people to the shrine when he was buying a string of wind chimes. Oh, you were lucky. Jiraiya laughed and said, Ai has a weird temper. I didn't expect you to be praised by him. Teacher Jiraiya, is Ai really powerful? I can feel that he is very strong, but from the perspective of chakra. Qingchuan Tianming expressed his doubts. Ai is so strong. If he was not indifferent to fame and fortune and lived in seclusion in the mountains with his wife, the country of waves might have more say in the 5 major countries. Qingchuan Tianming was shocked. If one person can give a country more say, how strong is this person? Don't guess blindly. I will take you to visit him tomorrow. Jiraiya said. Isn't his residence next to the bamboo forest? Qingchuan Tianming said. Jiraiya raised his lips and said, who told you? Which mountain has a bamboo forest? Boom. This information was like a bolt from the blue. Which mountain doesn't have a bamboo forest? Wasn't it an illusion from the beginning when we were on the mountain? An illusion that even the blood dragon eyes couldn't see. If Ai was an enemy, he might have been dead. Noticing Qingchuan Tianming, he also smiled and said, you have a lot of questions in your mind, so ask them tomorrow. No one talked that night, and the next day the 4 of them came to the shrine. Uzumaki Naruto looked at everything new like a curious baby, while Qingchuan Tianming's face was full of dark clouds. The secret of the bamboo forest troubled him all night. In this way, everyone walked up the mountain, and finally came to a cliff when the sun was high. Below the cliff was a green bamboo forest. Looking into the distance, it felt like listening to the waves in the sea of bamboo. Soon, a small black dot appeared in the distance. When I got closer, I realized that it was Ai. Ai stepped on the bamboo sea and quickly came to the crowd as if he was walking on flat ground. Jiraiya, I didn't expect you are still alive. Ai said directly. How can I feel embarrassed when you are still alive? Jiraiya replied. The style of these 2 friends is very unique. They don't greet or sigh, but ask about life and death right away. Are these the children you brought? Ai turned his eyes to the 3 people. Mr. Ai. Qingchuan Tianming saluted politely. Lecherous immortal, is this guy a powerful person? He doesn't look like it. Uzumaki Naruto always said shocking things. Ai's face turned black and then said, you can feel whether I am powerful or not. After saying that, Ai waved his sleeves, and Uzumaki Naruto slipped and fell into the bamboo sea. Little ghost, you can arrive at the destination in half a day. After saying that, Ai waved his sleeves again. Everyone felt the space flowing and arrived in front of a bamboo house. Qingchuan Tianming was completely dumbfounded. Why did this look a bit like the space skills in fantasy novels? Little ghost. You seem to have a problem. Ai said. Mr. Ai, I want to ask you if this is an illusion. Qingchuan Tianming asked. No. Ai shook his head and said, do you have such a question because you have the blood dragon eye and think you can be immune to illusions? Ai smiled and said, my bamboo sea is just an illusion of the sword intent into a bamboo sea. Ai stretched out his hand, and a bamboo flew from a distance and turned into a black knife in his palm. When the black knife was in hand, there were bursts of knife chants. At this point, Qingchuan Tianming no longer needed words. He was about to kneel down and worship his master but was interrupted. Swordsmen don't need these. Ai shook his head and said, swordsmen use swords, one sword for each person, that's Ai. It's important to be happy. I accepted you yesterday. The bamboo sea is full of waves, and the sea of waves is full of waves. Ai's action of turning bamboo into a sword made Qingchuan Tianming completely understand. Why did the illusion yesterday deceive Blood Dragon Ai? Because those bamboo forests are not driven by chakra, but by the sword intent to bless the chakra. The entire bamboo forest is also filled with Ai's sword intent, and the bamboo sea is listening to the waves, and the sword intent is listening to the waves. Such a master is worthy of being able to enhance the discourse of the country of waves. At the same time, Qingchuan Tianming was also secretly surprised by Jiraiya's connections. He traveled for many years to find the traces of Akatsuki, and also met many people. Oh. It seems that you are very satisfied with Tianming kid. Jiraiya smiled and walked into the courtyard of the bamboo house by himself. The reason I accepted you is that you have a good sword. Ai began. You use chakra to infuse the blade to use the sword. You can be called a powerful ninja, but not a powerful swordsman. There are many mysteries in Ai-Do, but I never follow the rules. I learned Ai-Do from others and later changed my name to Ai because I said Ai-Do is the strongest person. I changed my name because I am the strongest. Every technique has its origin and development, but how domineering it is to change your name to the same name. As the strongest I don't need you to inherit Ai-Do, so everything about Ai-Do has nothing to do with you. Ai spoke directly. I will only teach you 10 swords, and see how long it will take you to comprehend. Learn for a lifetime, and I will be your teacher for life. Learn for a second, the same. It must be said that Ai speaks directly, just like his person, his name, and his way. He no longer needs Qingchuan Tianming to bear any unfounded things, and he doesn't care about all kinds of red tape. He is just a teacher of swordsmanship. That's all. I've learned your lesson. Qingchuan Tianming waved at him and said sincerely. Draw your sword now. Ai said. Qingchuan Tianming pulled out the sun wheel sword as he said, and a domineering aura arose when the sword was unsheathed. What a good sword. Ai praised and said, now use your strongest swordsmanship to attack me. The strongest. Qingchuan Tianming was a little puzzled. Is there a strongest level in general? Don't worry, based on the sword, your chakra level is meaningless to me. Ai said lightly. I understand. Qingchuan Tianming gripped the handle of the sun wheel sword and stabbed it. Wind-style wind-killing formation. The wind-style sword light took the lead, and the sword lights of the two chakra clones were directed towards Ai's location. Your talent in swordsmanship is amazing to be able to achieve such an effect with one sword, but it is far from enough. Ai directly ignored the wind-style sword light that was coming towards him. Suddenly, Ai moved. His hand holding the sword slashed instantly. A sword intent that soared into the sky cut the front of the wind-escaped sword into two parts, and at the same time, the chakra blade that escaped into the ground collapsed at the moment of being unearthed. Ai's sword did not come out of the sheath. There was nothing in his hand. Even the chakra was not activated. Pure swordsmanship. Qingchuan Tianming felt that Ai, who was empty-handed, was a real swordsman. He didn't care about the power of the wind-killing formation or the trajectory of movement, and only slashed once from beginning to end. The first sword is to draw the sword and slash. The mystery is not in drawing the sword, but in slashing. You must have the determination to win with one sword. With the determination to win with one sword, the first sword will be successful. After Ai finished speaking, he threw the black sword to Qingchuan Tianming, and the moment the black sword was in his hand, it turned into a bamboo. Qingchuan Tianming looked up, and Ai had turned around and walked into the courtyard. At the same time, in the bamboo forest that was like a blinding leaf, Uzumaki Naruto staggered, and there were different wounds on his body. Stinky old man, your temper is worse than that of a lecherous immortal. Even so, Uzumaki Naruto still couldn't change his habit of talking nonsense. Just because of his rude words, he was slapped by Ai and forced to walk in the bamboo sea. Not only is this bamboo sea endless, but there are also ninjas appearing inexplicably. Which guys don't talk and just do it right away. After fighting off several waves of ninjas, Uzumaki Naruto finally understood that it was an illusion, but he was almost exhausted. Rustle. Not long after, another black shadow appeared in front. Is it endless? Uzumaki Naruto made a bitter face, and even worse things were still to come. The black shadow who walked out was none other than Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke. Uzumaki Naruto shook his head and said, Sasuke can't be here, illusion. Sasuke scanned. After a glance, Uzumaki Naruto raised his hand and threw out a dense shuriken. Naruto could only dodge and look for a chance to fight back. You are the only one who can do it. Uzumaki Naruto's temper also rose, and he took the opportunity to grab the kunai in his hand, and took the initiative to rush forward and fight with Sasuke. Sasuke's black shadow has a high combat power, which is not much different from Sasuke at that time. Humph. Use such an illusion to test me. After Sasuke leaves, what I have to do is to bring him back to Konoha. No one can stop it, not even you, a fake. Uzumaki Naruto snorted coldly. When the kunai stabbed Sasuke, the other hand directly accumulated a Rasengan. The tea is still fresh, but the tea is not fresh. When Qingchuan Tianming walked into the bamboo hut, Jiraiya and Ai were sitting on both sides of a small bamboo table. The tea is here. The door of the bamboo hut opened, and Uzumaki Karen came out with a few teacups. Next to her was an old lady with a hunched figure. Although she was old, she had a strong temperament in her every move. Wife. Ai wanted to reach out to take it. You know nothing about tea, wait and drink it. The old lady spoke very explosively, and directly made Ai speechless. The old lady put the tea on the table, picked up the kettle beside her, and poured the boiling water on the tea set. Jiraiya, you haven't been here for a long time, right? More than 5 years, it's not important. What's important is that you are as beautiful as ever, Jiraiya. Jiraiya praised. Haha, it's still your style, Jiraiya, you can talk. Grandma Jiraiya laughed, and then slowly poured the tea into the cup. Young man, have a cup of hot tea. Thank you, Grandma. Qingchuan Tianming picked up a cup of tea, and felt a different taste before he drank it. Good tea. Does the little kid understand tea? Grandma Jiraiya said. Qingchuan Tianming shook his head and said, I don't understand, but I know it tastes good. It's okay as long as it tastes good. Grandma Jiraiya looked up at Qingchuan Tianming and nodded, not a bad child. Wife, don't be happy just because you hear a few compliments on you. Ai pouted. Can't tea stop you from talking? Grandma Jiafeng retorted as usual. It turns out that the great swordsmanship master Ai also has a frustrated side. Huh. It's worthy of being Jiafeng's tea. Jiraiya took a sip of the tea and praised it highly. Tea is not that magical, the main thing is that it smells good when someone drinks it. Grandma Jiafeng also poured herself a cup and moistened her throat and said, there should be another person, right? That kid offended me before, so I asked him to walk. Ai explained. Old man, do you think you can punish my disciple? Grandma Jiafeng's face changed immediately. Hayate, don't be impulsive. Naruto really needs experience. Jiraiya quickly came out to smooth things over, saying, the child is still here, you should give Ai some face. Give him some face. Hayate looked at Ai and said, do you need me to give you some face? Ai immediately shook his head and laughed, my wife is right, I will go and find him right away. But just when Ai got up, there was a noise in the bamboo forest not far away. Everyone looked in the direction of the sound and saw the wounded Uzumaki Naruto falling to the ground. The next moment, Grandma Hayate had already left the courtyard and reported Uzumaki Naruto. Not bad, he actually crossed the bamboo sea. Wife, I'll help. Ai followed Grandma Hayate into the house like a lackey. Teacher Jiraiya. Qingchuan Tianming said. I know you want to know your question. Jiraiya explained. This time, you and Naruto's masters are them. You practice swordsmanship with Ai, and Naruto practices wind escape with Hayate. Qingchuan Tianming was slightly stunned. In the original book, Uzumaki Naruto practiced wind escape 3 years later. I didn't expect it to be inexplicably advanced now. Who is that Hayate grandmother? Ai teacher seems to be very afraid of her. Hayashi. Jiraiya smiled and said, Ai is not afraid, but love. When they were young, they were also a team that made countless people jealous. Don't look at Ai's swordsmanship, Hayate's strength is also unfathomable. When they were young, Hayate was a ninja who mastered wind escape. She was also one of the few who could use wind escape to crush other escape techniques. What? Qingchuan Tianming said in surprise, escape techniques are mutually reinforcing and mutually restraining. Can you really use wind escape to suppress others? Yes. Jiraiya. Nodding, she said, as long as you are strong enough. As long as you have a strong enough understanding of wind escape. Also, I'll tell you a little secret. Hayate once taught the fourth Hokage. This time, Qingchuan Tianming was completely speechless. Then it was really appropriate for Uzumaki Naruto to be taught wind escape by Grandma Hayate. Of course, what shocked Qingchuan Tianming the most was that Jiraiya actually brought him here to learn swordsmanship from Ai. It seems that he really regarded him as an important disciple. In the bamboo house, Grandma Hayate put Uzumaki Naruto on the bamboo bed and sighed, exactly the same as Minato. Ai patted Grandma Hayate's shoulder and said, Jiraiya knew that doing this would make you sad, but he still brought people here. Grandma Hayate shook her head and said, it's actually not bad. You and I have lived for so long. When we were young, we always wanted to compete with each other, but later we realized that absolute strength is also accompanied by absolute pain. Otherwise, you and I would not need to live in seclusion. But then again, we dare not endure the pain, but some people dare to do so, so it is also very good to provide some help to such people. Grandma Hayate still remembers when Jiraiya brought Minato Namikaze here. That scene is too similar to today. The two of them were married, but their teaching methods were different. Although they were husband and wife, their teaching methods were different. Grandma Hayate, who taught wind release, led Uzumaki Naruto away from the bamboo sea. And Qingchuan Tianming put away the sun blade and used the bamboo sword to learn the 10 styles of Ai. Both of them had a training instructor, and Jiraiya had more time. He would occasionally go out to collect intelligence, and would also take time to rush to the bamboo sea to teach Uzumaki Naruto the method of summoning spirits and mastering the Nine Tails chakra. Time flies. In the blink of an eye, 3 years have passed. In 3 years, the ninja world has undergone great changes, and an organization called Akatsuki has become active again. The members of Akatsuki are all famous rebel ninjas from various countries. Their activeness has brought the 5 major countries back to a turbulent period. As time goes by, the Akatsuki organization has launched a tailed beast capture plan in the ninja world. For a time, the situation became turbulent again. At the dock of Wave Country, as the ship docked, a man with long white hair got off the ship and rushed to the mountain without stopping. It was Jiraiya, who had been away for half a year. He walked through the bamboo sea with ease and came to the bamboo house and saw the couple Ai and Hayate drinking tea leisurely. Jiraiya, you disappeared for half a year, why are you back in a hurry? Ai said lightly. Don't mention it, Akatsuki has launched a tailed beast capture plan. Jiraiya said righteously. The Jinchuriki has been captured. This news is sensational and visibly. The hand that Hayate was pouring tea trembled slightly. Is it the Akatsuki that once disturbed the ninja? Jiraiya nodded and said, 48 years after Konoha, I have been traveling outside to collect information about Akatsuki. I finally got some clues a few days ago. Let's not talk about this. Where are Qingchuan Tianming and Uzumaki Naruto? They are practicing behind the bamboo house. There is a flat ground not far behind the bamboo house, and 2 slender figures stand facing each other on the flat ground. Uzumaki Naruto said with a face full of vigor, Tianming, I must beat you once. You have said this too many times in the past 3 years. Qingchuan Tianming said slowly. In 3 years, the 2 teenagers have made great progress in all aspects. Uzumaki Naruto spent 3 years to finally master the wind escape. And Qingchuan Tianming also practiced Iaido to the 9th style. I will definitely do it this time. Uzumaki Naruto quickly formed seals with both hands, and the wind escape chakra combined with each other in reverse, and a powerful Rasengan gathered in his palm. Rasenshuriken. Naruto Uzumaki shouted and threw out the flat Rasenshuriken. After 3 years of wind escape training, Naruto Uzumaki developed the Rasengan to a level that was not achieved in the original work. That is the Rasengan long-range attack. The Rasenshuriken burst out, and the spiral force even twisted the ground into cracks. Not bad Rasenshuriken. Qingchuan Tianming also raised his eyebrows, then drew out the Nichiren sword with a backhand and slashed it instantly at a weird speed, and then sheathed it. This action was just an afterimage, and the Rasenshuriken was directly cut in half. The other half flew uncontrollably towards the bamboo forest. Boom boom boom. The separated Rasenshuriken left a big pit on the surface, but the other half did not cause an explosion. Qingchuan Tianming and Naruto Uzumaki looked back and saw Jiraiya walking out of the bamboo sea, and the half of the Rasenshuriken was offset in his palm. Teacher Jiraiya. Romantic immortal. I miss you so much after not seeing you for half a year. Yes, you have become stronger. Jiraiya looked at the two disciples with great satisfaction and said, I came here to bring you bad news. The training is about to end. Why? Uzumaki Naruto said. Because the situation has become turbulent, I have also taken over Tsunade's order to take you back to Konoha. Ikawa Tenming had no expression on his face. He knew that the plot of Shippuden was about to begin. Everyone returned to the bamboo house, and Grandma Hayate had already prepared the food. Ikawa Tenming and Uzumaki Naruto didn't know how to start. Don't stand there, finish this meal and get out quickly. Ai said with a stern face. Old man, how can you talk like that? Grandma Hayate almost snatched Ai's bowl away. Tenming, Naruto. Don't look at the old man so fierce, he still can't bear to leave you in his heart, he just wants to save face. Grandma Hayate said, don't have too much psychological burden. The ninja world always needs fresh forces like you. Come back to see us in the future. I will. Qingchuan Tianming and Uzumaki Naruto also picked up their bowls and finished their meals. The atmosphere at the table was quite harmonious, just like the day they came 3 years ago. After lunch, Uzumaki Karen helped to clean up, while Qingchuan Tianming was called aside by Ai alone. In the past 3 years, you have practiced the II 10 styles to the 9th sword. I have always said that you are still far behind. Let me tell you the truth today. You are the best person in Iaido. I practiced for 10 years back then, and you have surpassed me in swordsmanship. Qingchuan Tianming smiled and said, Teacher I am really not used to being praised by you. The two of them were so busy that they had to face each other. Without looking back after a long time, Qingchuan Tianming left without even leaving the courtyard. When the four of them came to the dock of Wave Country again, Qingchuan Tianming felt very sad. In the past 3 years, he really practiced the 10 styles of II honestly, and Uzumaki Naruto was also tirelessly rolling balls and practicing wind escape. Karen was better, and occasionally went down the mountain to buy daily necessities. Qingchuan Tianming and Uzumaki Naruto were undoubtedly excited to come out this time. Teacher Jiraiya, how is the matter on the island? Qingchuan Tianming said. You mean that? Ka Xiao naturally ruled the remaining pirates, but the Wave Country soon sent a request for employment to Konoha, so Ka Xiao was wiped out before he became a force to be reckoned with. Now the island is a tourist area. Jiraiya explained. Who carried out the mission at the time? It is said that it was Yuhi Kurenai's teammate. Jiraiya became interested. Why are you asking this? Just asking. Qingchuan Tianming laughed, but he was still a little surprised that Team 3 conquered the island. After all, among the 12 little warriors of Konoha, Team 8 has the worst configuration. Hinata Hyuga and Shino Aburame are just auxiliary, and only Kiba Inuzuka is the leader. It seems that we can't look at it from the perspective of the original work now. After all, too many people and too many things have changed. Everyone began to board the ship. This time, there were no moles along the way, and they approached the port of the Land of Fire smoothly. Walking in the suburbs of Konoha, looking at the looming village, there is a feeling of relaxation and joy. After 3 years away, I really miss home. Let's disband at the entrance of the village. You can go home and rest first. There will be tasks for you tomorrow. At the entrance of the village, Jiraiya said hello and walked towards the direction of the Hokage's office. Qingchuan Tianming, Uzumaki Naruto and Karen went to the area of war orphans together. Naruto, we haven't been home for 3 years. It's definitely not okay to go back empty-handed. Qingchuan Tianming asked a very spiritual question. Uzumaki Naruto also reacted. I haven't lived here for 3 years, so I really can't go home. How about we go buy some cleaning tools? Okay. The three of them came to the streets of Konoha and could purchase some cleaning tools. The vendors around them kept looking at the three of them, which was actually normal. After 3 years of hard training, Qingchuan Tianming and Uzumaki Naruto have also changed in appearance. From the little brats before, they have become handsome guys. However, Qingchuan Tianming, who knew the people of Konoha well, did not have a good face. He was just buying things. After a while, the three people who finished shopping came to a wine shop. Suddenly a jar of wine flew out and smashed to pieces at the feet of Uzumaki Naruto. I'm sorry, I didn't hurt you. A pink-haired girl in the wine shop ran out and bowed to apologize. Sakura. Uzumaki Naruto's eyes were straight. Ah. Haruno Sakura looked up and was also confused. Uzumaki Naruto, Qingchuan Tianming, why are you here? When did you come back? We just finished training and are now buying some tools to clean the house. Uzumaki Naruto said loudly. Now he is very calm with Haruno Sakura. So that's the case. I came to buy wine for my master. She is too busy, but she has to drink a sip anyway. Haruno Sakura said. Haruno Sakura 3 years later has also changed from the original work. When she saw Naruto, she didn't have starry eyes, nor did she use violence, but was in a very natural state. She was very happy about the return of her companions who had not seen her for 3 years. You are back, teacher Kakashi will be very happy. Haruno Sakura looked at the things on the two people's hands and wanted to help. Sakura, no need. Why are you being polite? Haruno Sakura stretched out her hand and took a heavy object from Uzumaki Naruto, looking very relaxed. Qingchuan Tianming was secretly surprised. In this state, could it be that Sakura has already practiced the 100 healings? In the original book, Sakura was hated, one because she was a fool. If there was something wrong, she would be a mess. If there was nothing wrong, she would give it to her. The other reason was that she was strong enough to eat. From the beginning to the end, she was just a soy sauce that pushed her back. But now, it seems that she has grown more than a little. The four of them came to the area of war orphans and separated at the fork in the road. Tianming, how tall do you think the grass in Qingchuan's house is? Karen smiled. I don't know. Qingchuan Tianming shook his head. I hope she doesn't leave the yard. The two. They chatted casually, and then came to the Qingchuan family's mansion. But the Qingchuan family in front of them made them a little unrecognizable. Where are the weeds as expected? Where is the mess as expected? It is clearly the same as when they just left. Karen came to the ticket and looked at the keyhole and said in surprise, the lock has been changed. Huh. Qingchuan Tianming took a closer look and found that it was true. Isn't it that my family is poor and there are thieves who care about it? Just when Qingchuan Tianming was confused, the door of the Qingchuan family opened. The people inside and the two people outside the door stared at each other. Tianming. Hinata. Qingchuan Tianming suspected that he had seen it wrong. The case was solved. The Qingchuan family mansion was spotless. The door lock was changed by Hinata Hyuga. It should be said that during the 3 years when Qingchuan Tianming was away from home, Hinata Hyuga would come to clean regularly if she had no tasks to perform. The door lock was too old, so it was replaced with a new one. Tianming, you are back. Hinata Hyuga was surprised and didn't know what to say. Come in quickly. After Qingchuan Tianming put down the cleaning tools, he saw that the house was spotless. At the same time, he couldn't help but glance at Hinata Hyuga. After 3 years, Hinata Hyuga has grown up, and it seems that she has grown from a small sweet potato to a remarkable level. A head of black and shiny long hair gives people a very gentle feeling. In fact, Hyuga Hinata is a gentle type, whether it is appearance, eyes, or temperament. Qingchuan Tianming lowered his eyes slightly. No more talking, big is right. Tianming, why are you peeking at me? Unexpectedly, the vision of the white eyes is so wide that Hyuga Hinata immediately caught the thief-like gaze. It's been 3 years since I last saw you. Hinata has become more beautiful. Qingchuan Tianming laughed dryly twice. Hyuga Hinata's cheeks immediately became hot after being praised like this, and Uzumaki Karen went into the kitchen very tactfully. Soon there were only 2 people left in the yard. Suddenly, the atmosphere became a little awkward. Qingchuan Tianming was stuck and didn't know how to break the awkwardness, and Hyuga Hinata was thin-skinned. You go first. You go first. The two spoke in unison. Ahem. Qingchuan Tianming had to say slowly. I have been practicing outside for 3 years, and I thought that my house would grow weeds. I really didn't expect that Hinata you could help me take care of it so much. I don't know how to thank you. Hinata Hyuga shook her head and said, no, I didn't do anything. When you went out to practice, I wanted to go with you, but at that time Karen and I talked, so we made an agreement that she would accompany you to practice, and I would wait for you to come back. Qingchuan Tianming was confused when he heard it. I don't seem to understand. I went out to practice and you wanted to go with me. Then you and Karen had an agreement. Wait, what agreement? I don't know. You naturally don't know the secrets of girls. Karen walked out of the kitchen with her arms around her. Karen. Qingchuan Tianming looked at the 2 girls who were very tacit, and felt cold in his heart. Hinata Hyuga's cheeks were like ripe red apples, and she seemed to have mustered up great courage. I hope that Tenmei-kun has liked you since our first meeting. I like your encouragement in the Chunin exam and the purse you gave me, but Karen also likes Tenmei-kun. So in order not to trouble Tenmei-kun, we made a promise that Karen will practice with you and I will wait for you to come back. At this point, if Qingchuan Tianming can't hear that it is a confession, then he is really stupid. In fact, Qingchuan Tianming is not unaware that the 2 girls like him, but he has never thought about the situation today. Hyuga Hinata, who has always been introverted, can actually express her love directly. The key is that the emotional problem of the 3 people that Qingchuan Tianming is most troubled by, but the 2 girls solved it 3 years ago. It's really terrifying. Tianming-kun, you don't have to feel burdened. The Hyuga family is a big family, and the family can also take concubines. And Karen and I don't mind, but if you don't like me, I can. I like. Qingchuan Tianming took the lead and said, after living for so many years, he finally got tough. Ah. Hyuga Hinata was a little shocked. Although she wanted the answer day and night, when Qingchuan Tianming said it, the impact was still so great. Fortunately, Qingchuan Tianming was indeed a man. He took 2 steps forward and hugged Hyuga Hinata in his arms. At the same time, he waved to Karen. So far, Qingchuan Tianming has solved the single problem that many people have been thinking about, and there are 2 at once. That night, I don't know who started it first. Qingchuan Tianming experienced an unusually long war. There was no words all night. The next day, when Qingchuan Tianming woke up in bed, he could smell 2 very good smells. The sound of 2 girls laughing while making breakfast came from the kitchen. Qingchuan pulled back the quilt and got out of bed, his legs shaking. He almost couldn't stand steadily. I can't believe there's a day when I can't stand steadily. Qingchuan Tianming smiled bitterly. Perhaps there would be no one else in the entire ninja world who could make Qingchuan Tianming lose his balance. Tianming, are you awake? Qingchuan Tianming walked out of the room, and the 2 women had already prepared breakfast. Qingchuan Tianming looked in the direction of the voice, and the 2 beautiful women were smiling like flowers. Suddenly, he seemed to understand what the peak of life was. What a bullshit Hokage, what a bullshit first place. Isn't such a life good for him? At the same time, the sand village of the Wind Country. The Anbu of the sand village appeared in the village and rushed to the Cage's office at a rapid speed. Gaara, the 5th generation Cage at the time, personally met with several Anbu, and before he could ask questions. A violent explosion sounded. The sun was shining brightly, and the sky was full of stars. Boom. Several Sand Village Anbu had just arrived at the door and were about to speak when a strange energy rose up and exploded instantly. After the smoke, half of the Cage's office was blown up, and the other half was saved by Gaara. Swish. Not long after, a large number of Sand Village Anbu instantly gathered in the Cage's office and searched around. Unlike Konoha, the Anbu of Sand Village is completely controlled by the Cage. At this time, a figure flew over from a distance, and Kankuro, with a sad face, said, "It's Akatsuki." For this answer, Gaara's expression did not change much, but he looked at Kanjiro who was in a very embarrassed state. "Are you okay with your injury?" "Not bad," Kanjiro said, I got the information from the last Anbu. The ones coming are Scorpion and Deidara. The reactivation of the Akatsuki organization and the plan to collect the tailed beasts are no longer a secret. Gaara, the most important thing now is your safety. Kanjiro said worriedly. Me. Gaara smiled and said. Then you are really worrying too much. It's 100 years before they want to catch me. I am the cage. I am in the sand village, waiting for them to come. Gaara, this is not the time to act on impulse. Kanjiro knew that he could not persuade Gaara, so he could only sigh and said, I will go find Temari. Gaara did not call Kanjiro, but looked at the blue sky alone. Scorpion and Deidara. Shukaku, we haven't been active for a long time. At the same time, in the desert outside the sand village, two men wearing red cloud cloaks walked slowly. Among them, the man with a rather large figure and 4 legs on the ground was the former rebel ninja of the sand village, and now a member of the Akatsuki organization. Scorpion of the Red Sand. And next to him was Deidara. Scorpion, how do you feel about coming here again? No feeling. Scorpion said coldly. Not everyone has ADHD like you. Deidara didn't care about being insulted by Scorpion, and raised his hand to look at the mouth chewing in the palm of his hand. The cage should have received my gift. Aren't you afraid of alerting the enemy by doing this? Scorpion said with some dissatisfaction. Deidara is a crazy person, and there is no tactics at all in battle. When he encountered an ambush by the sand village Anbu, he went straight to it, and even stuffed clay bombs into the people's bodies. Art is explosion. Isn't it interesting to blow up all obstacles? Deidara looked forward and laughed. Look, the fun is coming, isn't it? On the sand dunes ahead, many sand village Anbu appeared. In the desert terrain of the wind country, hiding skills are not very important. After all, there is no place to hide except under the sand. When the two sides met, there was no old-fashioned trash talk. The sand village Anbu directly blasted over with a magnetic style of sand explosion. Everywhere you look is yellow sand like rolling waves, crushing with indomitable pressure. The ninjutsu of the Anbu joint is more powerful than that of a single person. Deidara grabbed a handful of clay from his pocket without any hurry, and the clay was chewed and processed by the mouth in the palm of his hand. C2 Dragon. Deidara quickly molded a huge clay flying dragon with the processed detonating clay. After the dragon was molded, it seemed to come alive. With a flap of its wings, its huge body rushed towards the rolling sand explosion. Do you think this is the end? Deidara snorted coldly and threw the remaining clay in his hand forward. C1 Clay Spider. Boom boom boom. C2 Dragon hits the sand explosion head-on. For Deidara, art is explosion, and so is fighting. The powerful explosion shock wave of the C2 Dragon forms a repulsive force that stops the sand explosion. At the same time, there are violent explosions, and the C1 Clay Spider has quietly climbed up the trouser legs of the sand-hidden Anbu. The next moment, another extreme explosion. The sand-hidden Anbu didn't know what happened, and they turned into meat. The violent explosion directly collapsed the surrounding yellow sand, and the sand began to sink. After the smoke, Deidara and Scorpion had already left this place on the clay owl. Interesting, so interesting. Deidara was very satisfied. His fun was explosion. If there wasn't endless yellow sand below, Deidara would really want to keep throwing clay bombs. You are so high profile, aren't you afraid? Is the capture mission complicated? Scorpion said coldly. Hey, Deidara said disapprovingly. Tell the sand village directly that I, Deidara, am here to capture the wind shadow, so that they can be prepared, and then I will capture the wind shadow directly. You. Scorpion paused. Do you want to capture the wind shadow alone? Of course, I am enough, but I also ask you to guard the entrance of the village and don't let others run away. Deidara's expression twisted. After all, capturing the wind shadow is the organization's plan, but blowing up the entire sand village is my plan. Madman. Scorpion shook his head and was too lazy to argue. Like Deidara, Scorpion also has his own fun. His fun is to make puppets first and then kill people, which is different from Deidara. The two flew for a while on the clay owl and soon saw the outline of the sand village in the desert. In front of the village stood two huge rocks that towered into the sky. There was a narrow path between the rocks, which was the entrance to the village. When he came to the rocks, Scorpion jumped directly from the clay owl, and when he landed on the ground, he shook up layers of yellow sand. Deidara flew directly over the rocks and flew straight into the sand village. The people of the sand village looked at Deidara, who suddenly entered the village, and all made a burst of surprised voices. In the sky, looking at the dense crowd on the ground, Deidara was excited. This is a great gift for you. Tiny clay spiders were thrown out, so many that they seemed to want to baptize the entire sand village with fire. The clay spiders fell rapidly, just when they were about to land on the ground. A fine yellow sand moved horizontally, so fast that it instantly covered the entire sand village with a layer of protection. The clay spiders met the yellow sand protective layer and exploded. The smoke dissipated, and the yellow sand protective layer was safe and sound, but there was an upright figure on it. The fifth generation cage, Gaara. Gaara crossed his arms and glanced at Deidara indifferently. Why don't you call the red sand scorpion together? As expected of Lord Cage, you are quite powerful. The clay owl under Deidara's crotch rushed towards Gaara. Sand armor. Gaara did not make any movements, and the yellow sand flowed out of the gourd behind him and formed an armor in front of him. Sand clone. Before the clay owl and the sand kai collided and exploded, a sand clone condensed, and then clenched his palm. Endless yellow sand completely wrapped up the clay owl before it exploded. Boom. The sound of the explosion was heard, but all the power had been swallowed by the sand kai. Deidara on the opposite side said in surprise, "Is this the strength of the wind shadow?" The clay bomb is Deidara's most proud method, and it makes him very uncomfortable that it cannot explode. Is this the strength of the invader? If so, I am very disappointed. In 3 years, Gaara not only sat firmly in the position of wind shadow, but also rapidly improved his strength. Perhaps the sand village Jonin has no power to fight back against Deidara, but Gaara is different. He is not only the wind shadow, but also has a secret unknown to the world. Deidara grabbed the clay and began to chew it. After a while, the C2 dragon soared into the sky, and the clay shells in its big mouth burst out, but the target was all over the sand village. At the same time, Deidara appeared behind Gaara and was about to scatter clay spiders, but he was bound by the quicksand under his feet before he finished his action. At this time, Gaara in front of Deidara also turned into quicksand. What are you doing? Gaara's indifferent voice sounded behind him. Deidara then realized that he had planted an illusion. In an instant, Deidara's expression became wonderful, and he vowed to capture the wind shadow alone. But now he has made 2 moves and he has not even found out the truth. Suddenly, a big hand condensed from sand grabbed Deidara's face and pressed it directly on the ground and slid out continuously. Gaara stepped forward and punched Deidara in the stomach. Don't worry, the deaths of all the Anbu people will come back to you. Boom. Deidara's body flew out close to the ground. Deidara was a little embarrassed, and his head was a little confused. Is the script wrong? Didn't he say that he would blow up the sand village and then drag Gaara to report? Is this all your strength? Gaara stepped on the yellow sand at this time, domineering. Impossible. You can't be stronger than me. Deidara grabbed the clay again and ate it with his hands. He didn't eat it slowly enough, so he used his mouth. Gaara didn't attack, just stood there. Shukaku, is the enemy you asked me to be on guard against too weak? Shukaku of the sand in Gaara's body also said, the intuition of the tailed beasts is very sensitive. I have a feeling that this is a big crisis for you. Don't take it lightly, Gaara. Got it. Few people know that Gaara has perfectly assimilated with Shukaku of the sand. And Gaara is currently the first Jinchuriki who can perfectly use the power of the tailed beasts. And the ability of the tailed beasts is at the ceiling level. In comparison, the invader Deidara is not enough. I saw it. Clay clone. The clay in Deidara's mouth spewed out, turning into a human figure and attacking Gaara. At the same time, Deidara's body also brewed a bigger clay bomb in his hand. Art is explosion, no mistake. This is what Deidara has always believed in. If the explosion can't solve the enemy, it means that the power is not strong enough, so just increase the power. On the other side, at the entrance of the sand village, Scorpion, who had closed his eyes to rest, opened his eyes, turned around slowly and saw Konkuro behind him. Traitor of the sand village, I will end you today. Konkuro snorted coldly, and the puppet crow had burst out, and the blade in the crow's body chopped Scorpion's body like a storm. The enemy was in a state of panic, and the enemy was in a state of panic. Kanjiarang's attack was fierce, and there was a sound of metal and iron when the puppet crow's blade chopped on Scorpion's body. Before the puppet crow could take the lead, Scorpion's huge body suddenly bounced up. An iron chain flew up from the abdomen and pressed on the crow's head, knocking the crow out. At the same time, the knife on Scorpion's body also shot out mercilessly and stabbed the crow through the heart. It's great that the crow can be used to this extent in your hands. Scorpion's head turned back, and the body opened and closed, and the scars on his body were directly hidden. But this thing is my practice work. Imperfect things have no need to exist. As Scorpion finished speaking, the crow that was stabbed into a hedgehog by the knife exploded into countless pieces with a bang. For his former work, Scorpion knew every node of the crow, including its weaknesses. Even without a puppet, I will beat you. Kanjiro bravely took out a kunai and rushed up to get close to Scorpion. Among the Chunin, Kanjiro's physical skills are outstanding, even comparable to those of Jonin. When Kanjiro got close, he saw the switch on Scorpion's back. The real Scorpion was inside, and the shell was just a puppet. Puppeteer, you pay attention to details well, but what's the use? The blade that popped out of Scorpion's body resolved all of Kanjiro's attacks one by one. And Kanjiro kept changing his attacks. Stop talking nonsense, just break your shell. I can deal with you. The reason why Kanjiro faced Scorpion was very simple. First, Scorpion of the Red Sand is a traitorous ninja from the Sand Village. Second, this guy is a genius puppeteer. If you want to deal with him, you can only be a puppeteer like me. It seems that you have a deep misunderstanding. Scorpion paused, and then a strong chakra rose. Kanjiarang's face changed, and he quickly withdrew. Boom! The explosion sounded, and Scorpion's shell puppet actually exploded directly. Kanjiarang stepped aside and stared at Scorpion's every move. In the billowing smoke, Scorpion's body slowly walked out, but his face made Kanjiarang's scalp numb. Aren't you going to break my shell to deal with me? Scorpion jokingly glanced at the lines on Kanjiarang's face and said, that mark, it seems that grandma taught you a lot, then let me experience it. Kanjiarang took a deep breath, and then began to use the second puppet Black Ant. Compared to Crow, Black Ant is not an offensive puppet, but it has to be used now. You are naive in that you use what I made to try to defeat me. Scorpion said sarcastically, let me show you the difference between you and me as puppeteers. In the Sand Village, the battle between Gaara and Deidara is coming to an end. The yellow sand covering the village has been blown to pieces, but it is still tenaciously supported. Gaara stood in the air, and nearly half of his body has turned into the appearance of Shukaku. Impossible. Deidara, who was in a mess on the opposite side, couldn't believe the facts in front of him for a long time. He has already used C3 clay, and Gaara's sand can resist any attack. At the same time, the protective layer above the village cannot be blown open. Deidara said that he was very uncomfortable. He wasted a lot of clay after bombing for a long time. He actually had the idea of retreating, which was rare. The amount of clay has been decreasing. And Gaara always makes Deidara feel that he has not yet exerted his full strength. However, just when Deidara was in a trance, the strands of yellow sand had already attached to the surface around him. C3 Garuda. In a hurry, Deidara wanted to give it a try, but suddenly found that the clay was no longer active. This is a bad sign. Deidara's explosion art is to use special active clay to process it through the mouth of the palm to make it have the power of explosion. It's just that the active clay is very troublesome to make, but it is not easy to carry. Generally, the active clay on Deidara is an appropriate amount, but now the active clay is not active. Deidara looked closely and found that there were fine sand grains on his clay. It was these sand grains that cut off the activity of the clay. C3 Garuda could not be made after all. Sand coffin. Gaara clenched his 5 fingers, and the sand flowing on the surface was squeezed instantly. The chakra in the body was also absorbed. Go to the underground to atone for your sins. The seal in Gaara's hand changed, and a stream of chakra flowed out. Sand suddenly appeared under Deidara and condensed into the form of a one-tailed Shukaku. At this time, Deidara suddenly realized. Gaara can already use the power of the tailed beast. The information is wrong. Shukaku's sand clone opened its mouth and sucked Deidara's body in. A moment later, Deidara was already pressed under the 2,000 meters of sand layer under the village. However, when dealing with Deidara, Gaara glanced outside the village. In that direction, the red sand scorpion brought in the half-dead Kankuro. Boom! Thousands of sand thorns rose from the ground, like the teeth of a beast, aimed at Scorpion. But Scorpion leisurely put Kankuro in front. He can still be saved. Of course, whether to save him depends on the opinion of Lord Cage. Thanks for watching, please subscribe and support our channel.